All right, hi everyone. Welcome to the Sunday Speedrunner Spotlight. Having to record this in advance for the third week in a row because I keep being busy on Sundays, so it's a bit dark out. So excuse my horrible lighting, but
Mhm.
fresh off of hanging out at GDQ, LunaticJ, hello.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being
Wasn't
on
expecting
short
to be,
notice. So
yeah, I wasn't expecting to be invited on so soon, but it's great to be on, I suppose. I'm always down to like chat and do interviews and stuff.
yep, and this is the interview, the most popular speedrunner thing. No, but oh, it's a fun time. We try at least. I think this is
Oh yeah,
episode 17 now. The number just keeps getting bigger.
yep. And 17 is a prime number, I believe.
There you go. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right, well, so what got you into speedrunning?
Oh gosh, speedrunning. I think, well, I guess you're gonna like first ask a question of how I first heard about speedrunning.
Mm-hmm.
And the first thing I ever watched that was related to speedrunning ever was when I was just browsing YouTube when I was a wee lad at the age of 8 in the year 2008.
Oh boy.
And I was like browsing some Mario 64 and Mario Kart videos and whatnot because those were my favorite games at the time. And I happened to stumble across this really interesting thing called a TAS
Mm.
by Riku, and it collected 16 stars in Mario 64. And this is the first time I had ever really seen glitches in a game, let alone stuff that skipped, like the mid.
Oh, was that my internet? Uh-oh. Really?
Clearly not a human playing, and I was right on that front.
Hold on.
And
My
the
internet went
BLJ
out.
kind of sat in the back of my mind for a bit.
Hold on. I'm reconnecting. I think my internet dropped out.
Okay, I see myself frozen on the
Yeah,
stream.
okay. I can hear you again. Yeah, my uh, did I not disconnect though? Oh wow. OBS coming in clutch, I guess. Yeah, I think my power went out like earlier today, so my internet might be kind of screwed up. I forgot about that. Well,
All
hopefully
right,
that
well,
doesn't
these
happen
things
again.
look fine.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
but
we're back.
but to continue it, I first heard of, a TAS, and I watched a couple of other TASes. Most notably, I think I watched I watched a Mario 1 TAS that was sub 5 and whatnot, as well as I think the like Mario 3 one. But I didn't really explore that much beyond that. It always stuck out in the back of my mind, but I didn't really think too much about the concept of speedrunning until 2013, because 2013 was when an event called AGDQ happened in early January. And I was getting kind of acquainted with Twitch at the time, but I didn't really have heard of it until then because I saw the archived runs uploaded to YouTube, because they would have like this game and this category beaten in this certain amount of time, and I'd always see the same background because this is before they did custom thumbnails on GDQ, where it was just like the blue border background with a bunch of people sitting on one half of the screen while the game is on the other half of the screen, and there is a timer and whatnot. I'm thinking, damn, they're playing these games pretty fast. I better check it out. And I checked some out, like the Ocarina of Time one done by Narcissa, as well as like Siglemic doing 120 star Mario 64, and I think a Banjo Kazooie one, and some other games as well. There's quite a lot from AGDQ 2013 that really caught my attention, and I was like, wow, this is actually really, really cool. And then that was my gateway into watching a lot of speedruns on YouTube, and then I eventually started watching on Twitch, and that got me more familiar with the concept of streaming runs live. Like I had never even seen W Split before, but it was so interesting seeing W Split as a program where people would make splits to compare like how fast they would go in certain segments and whatnot. Similar to like whenever you race a ghost in Mario Kart, where it would have like a plus or minus, like to show you how far ahead or how far behind you were.
Yeah.
I think I'd seen like clips of it from this one Let's Player. I think is still active in the OT community. His name is Volvagia. There was like a highlight on his channel where he's doing like a Link to the Past run, and I that's when I first saw like an image of W Split and learned what a speed run really looked like on Twitch. And then I just started watching more and got really into it from there.
Yeah. It's funny, like all the old runs usually just have W split and like this really crummy game capture. Maybe sometimes the camera if you're lucky.
Oh
Man,
man,
it was
I
so
think
old
that
school.
when I first started like running myself and doing splits, I think I might have just used W split because either live split didn't exist at the time, or W split was the option that was on the top of wherever they showed how to install a timer. Like,
Hmm.
what was it? Like Speed Demos Archive, because they also had a they also had a tutorial on how to set up a GV USB 2. Yeah, remember that thing?
Yeah, I've used it.
Oh yeah. I think beforehand I used a Dazzle
Hmm.
because I bought a Dazzle back when I was 13, or I got it like during my birthday because I really wanted to make Let's Plays as a kid, and that was like the thing to get.
Yeah. Um, I used a Dazzle for like the first few years when I started like doing runs on actual hardware. So like 2018 to 2020. So pretty late.
Yeah.
I was using Dazzle still. And then I went straight to my StarTech now, which is good. Much
Yeah,
better
I think
quality.
eventually got a GV USB 2 while still composite video. It's still better quality than the
Hmm.
Dazzle, and it's dirt cheap too.
Yeah, what, like $40 maybe?
Yeah, whenever I recommend my friends because they're wondering, oh, how do I record like just a basic console game from like the 90s or 2000s? I say, just get the GV USB 2. Sure, it's like in Japanese and all that stuff, but just follow these really simple instructions and you'll be on your very merry way.
Yeah, it's really easy to set up. I remember using it at like a GDQ practice room thing once. Did my internet go out again? Oh no. Or maybe it did. Hello? What is going on today? No, I'm still live. Uh-oh. What's going on here? 1 second. I think weird. I think my connection is stable, right? Anyone in chat can confirm, please? I don't know what's going on today. What is this? Hello?
I was back up.
Yeah,
Oh,
I didn't disconnect. I feel like I don't know what that was. I don't know if it was Discord or
okay, is it unfrozen?
yeah, you're unfrozen, your bitrate is bad now, but I didn't lose connection, so I don't know if it was your internet or
Um,
like my
okay, it could have
Discord
been.
connection.
I
That was
had
weird.
Firefox with the stream open, so I just closed those tabs in case that was causing
Okay.
trouble.
Yeah, I think
It
that
could have been
helped.
my fault. My bad. My
Okay.
bad.
I just had to make
All right.
sure because usually like OBS starts yelling at me like, "What are you doing? I can't handle your horrible internet." But it wasn't
Yeah.
doing that to me right now.
Okay, it could have just been me. Although I haven't really had much issues with my internet recently. But
Mm.
at the same time, I never really got big into doing runs myself for the longest time, mostly because of just that internet and hardware.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was always cool, like in 2013, 2015, and all that era, to see like people stream and whatnot. But I just didn't really have the resources to do that. All I had was to, just to record gameplay footage and whatnot, but I didn't really upload. I just did runs kind of just for fun offline and whatnot. Never really recorded a lot of them,
Mm-hmm.
just because at the time I wasn't trying to be a top level runner at anything. And also because I was a teenager at the time, I can't really speak for people nowadays because I feel like there's a lot of like teenagers in speedrunning now that just have a really good work ethic and like unlimited free time.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, when I was younger, I just hardly had like the best work ethic to improve at speedrunning. I would just sometimes like learn a run and just have some friends over and say, "Oh, I can do this," and they'd be like, "Oh, wow, cool."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, internet has always been like a really big issue for me. Mine sucks and has for a long time, but um yeah, capture equipment can be a little hard to get into, but yeah, I was what was I saying about the JBE USB 2? It was like $40. I remember we set it up in like the GDQ practice room a few years ago. It took like 5 minutes just to get this
Yeah.
driver. Okay, now we can do runs.
Okay.
So,
But if there was a bigger barrier entry to me, it was definitely hardware, like a laptop. Because at the
mhm,
time, the only computer in my house was like a borrowed laptop from my mom, who had like a HP i3,
mm,
and that is not very good for streaming at all. Not in the year 2015, not even the year 2016.
no.
I remember trying to stream like runs back then because I had like a DS capture card and I wanted to like do runs of Majora's Mask 3D, but the internet, or rather not internet, but OBS just had a hard time handling it.
Mhm. Yeah.
It
I
would
mean,
always just constantly drop frames, and it just wasn't reliable at all, and that really put me off for a long time.
I don't know what streaming was like back then because I didn't do it myself until like late 2017. So,
Okay, well, stream back then, it was interesting because if you were a speedrunner in the year, especially like 2012 and 2013, and were like really good at your game, you would get like 500 viewers easily,
oh
maybe
yeah.
even like 1,000. Like this was like the golden time to build like a speedrunning audience on Twitch specifically, because that was when speedrunning was relatively a new phenomenon. Because that's when I got into it. Many
Mhm.
people got into it like in 2012 because of Siglemic running 120 star every single day in August for 12 hours a day.
Yeah, wasn't he getting like 5-digit viewers too or something?
Yeah, he was getting like over like 10,000 viewer average in 2012, which is actually incredible for the time because
Mhm.
that was massive back then when Twitch was a much smaller platform. And now being live with over 10,000 viewers makes you one of the largest creators on the platform. If
Mhm.
that's your viewer average, that's insane. Being the 10K Andy in
Mhm.
2012, man, in that regard, Siglemic was ahead of his time, even though all he did was just stream runs with his split programs. Sometimes didn't even say a word at all or have a microphone. It was
That's
just
how
the nature of getting into speedrunning back then.
that's how I wish I could do it. Be a lot easier.
I mean, I could always look back and shoulda, woulda, coulda, but you also have to understand that a lot of these people at the time were like in high school, like late high school, or at least in their 20s or whatnot, and they were somewhat competent in what they're doing.
Mhm.
And me, I was just too young.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I joined at a good time, like out of high school, so I was like old enough to where I could understand what was going on.
Yeah.
And it still took a few years to like really start settling into the metas, but
Yeah.
yeah, it's just crazy how easy it was to blow up back then.
Yeah, because by the time 2015 rolled around, that's when I feel like there are some top dogs in speedrunning categories on Twitch,
Mhm.
but then a lot of them either just moved away from the games that made them popular or sometimes just stopped doing speedruns altogether. I mean, some still retained like really big platforms and others like grew even larger. Like I know when Mario Maker came out, Trihex became like even like massive on
Mhm.
Twitch and whatnot. He blew up really hard from Mario Maker. And then I Ate Your Pie, who was like a Paper Mario runner back in the day and also did a lot of miscellaneous runs. He kind of moved into more of like variety stuff as well as like some speedrunning stuff, not really like serious world record grinds, and found success in that. But if you're like a pure speedrunning streamer back then, that's when the pool kind of started to dilute a little, where there were more people doing speedruns on Twitch than in the previous years, which meant that your competition for viewership became much higher. So a lot of people that were like getting 500 to 1,000 viewers easily back in 2012 and 2013 were having a hard time reaching that same success in this era.
Yeah, there was just so many other people to watch at that point, and it just was like exponentially growing with how many people got into it.
Yeah. It's also kind of funny looking back because around 2015 and 2016, people were also trying to claim that speedrunning was dying apparently.
Mm.
You
It's
probably weren't around here for that, but
I don't
being
think
at
so.
like an audience that was in the speedrunning community at the time, it was quite bizarre to see because people were saying like AGDQ 2015 was when the year where they started becoming more corporate and like
Mhm.
cracking down at everything. People were saying, and then there was these videos popping up of like speedrunning cringe compilations and salt compilations on YouTube. But that kind of like relays into kind of a shift I saw in speedrunning back in 2015 and 2016, where while it was still like really big on Twitch, and if you like did runs on Twitch, you would probably become partnered pretty easily, relatively, if you put in like the effort in your game.
Mm-hmm.
Relatively, like obviously not as like guaranteed as it was years prior.
Yeah.
But then people started to realize that speedrunning content does well on YouTube. I mean, at this point, GDQ VODs on YouTube were doing extraordinarily well because that's how I even discovered what GDQ was in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But then people realized that uploading that kind of content to YouTube had great potential. And even though by this time Narcissa was out of the game of like speedrunning since 2015, 2014, she was actually pretty ahead of the times with like edited highlight contents for speedrunning as well as speedrunning adjacent content and like commentated speedruns for like the 1810 run for Ocarina of Time or like the Castlevania runs that she did. It was like kind of a blueprint of what speedrun YouTubers that are successful now all the way back like 10 years ago. It's actually kind of incredible to look back at how far ahead of the time it was.
So that was like the birth of the whole content creation style speedrunning.
Kind of, but I think that she was like one of the only runners really doing that on YouTube for speedrunning specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And then like in 2015, 2016, you got your more controversial figures in that space, such as like Apollo Legend and Mr. Hyrule Gamer, and people that did like those salt compilations, fail compilations, and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like win compilations and whatnot. But I don't think it really started to take off.
No, internet. No. God damn it. This is so scuffed. Don't
Am I
lose.
frozen?
Yeah. I guess just don't lose power or don't stream after losing power that day. It's bad.
Oh, you lost power?
But not just now, but I was mentioning like it was like 6 hours ago, like the power just, went out and back on. And I think it just screwed up my router. So now I'm having
Uh,
some connectivity issues.
okay,
But
just let me know when everything's like unfrozen.
yeah, luckily OBS hasn't full on crashed yet, which is a problem that can happen. Like usually my stream disconnects entirely, but that surprisingly hasn't happened
Okay,
yet. So
but when
that's a
I'm
good.
frozen, can they still hear me?
No, because I can't hear you when my OBS screws up.
Okay, but am I unfrozen now on the
Yeah, you're
display?
good.
Okay, okay. Yeah, I know I've been just kind of taking the reins right now, but I guess it's just really interesting looking back at a history of speedrunning YouTube in general, because Easy Escape really showed the impact of really positive speedrunning content that we know today.
Hmm.
Because when people thought of like speedrun YouTube, like in 2015, 2016, they just think of GDQ cringe as well as like salt and fail rage moments and whatnot.
Hmm. I'm
But
glad
Easy
I never
Escape,
got into it then. I haven't seen
yeah,
any of these
yeah, you
videos.
you you kind of didn't really miss out on much, but that was what kind of the perception of speedrunning was for a while, for like a good year or so, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But GDQs are still becoming like even more popular at the time.
Hmm.
And then Easy Escape like really takes off as a channel going into 2017, making, top 10 videos about some really interesting stuff, such as like the hardest runs, like RNG moments, luckiest moments, tricks found on accident, as well as like some highlight videos about like how certain things were discovered, such as some glitches in Spyro 2, or maybe like how the wrong warped work in Ocarina of Time. Like by today's standards, they're pretty basic videos that didn't really have that much editing or production value. And then in 2017, you also saw Summoning Salt get his start because world record progressions in speedrunning have always been pretty fascinating. But he was like one of the first people to realize how that they would make some pretty good stories.
Hmm.
And he had, humble beginnings, starting off with the speed game he knew best, like Punch Out and stuff. I mean, you probably know all about his history
Yeah.
and whatnot because he's talked about it in length. But I'm not sure if you've really heard it from like the perspective of an audience member before, maybe as much.
Maybe not someone that's been around like as long as he's been creating.
Yeah, because I was already into speedrunning years before he started creating videos. But um it was interesting, like a couple months after he made his Mario 1 video and Punch Out video, he was cranking out content like nonstop, it felt like
Hmm.
every 2 weeks. he was releasing like world record progression Mario World, world record progression Super Metroid, world record progression Mega Man 2.
Mm-hmm.
This dude was like a content creating machine back then. I'll admit it came at a cost because back then his videos had a much lower production value, poor sound quality, not as good editing,
Mm-hmm.
not nearly as good storytelling, and definitely not necessarily the best research.
Yeah.
Because there's a consensus people enjoyed these videos and they took off pretty quickly. He got like tens of thousands of subscribers like pretty fast in the first few months that he uploaded in 2017. But I did remember there was some criticism on some of his videos in terms of like the research,
Mm-hmm.
which is why I'm really glad that he decided to improve his production value and the way he made his videos, especially the research and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
Because he already set a gold standard in speedrunning of like YouTube at time, which is a very, very low bar to pass, even today, I think. But the bar was on the floor in 2017, and making a concept as revolutionary as world record progression, even if he did take it from Zallard 1 or Sinister, whoever did go over like that punch out like fight on stream that one
I
time.
think it was Sinister.
Okay, if it was Sinister, he got inspiration from Sinister and then made it into a format on YouTube, which then really started to catch on. And you had like people that thought, hey, if Salt can make like interesting world record progressions, I can make it on games that I know really well. And you had really interesting ones that succeeded at around the time.
Mm-hmm.
Retro made one on Ocarina of Time Any Percent. I think Speed Docs got their start around that time too with like Kirby Air Ride. And an average Trey, who's like a really big Sunshine runner, you know him. He
Mm-hmm.
made the any percent world record progression video on Mario Sunshine because he asked Salt if he would do it, but Salt said, I think said like Trey's better off touching Sunshine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. You mentioned it earlier. Like Apollo Legends was like one of the first people to really do it. I've heard so many people saying that they started content creation because of him, specifically his video like speedrunning needs content creators.
Oh
I've heard
yeah,
that a
he
lot.
did. Yeah, he did that. That was actually like kind of inspirational back in the day because he knew like the landscape of speedrunning pretty well because he was like a top Ocarina Time runner for a while. He had world record in a category called Ganonless.
Mm-hmm.
So he was already pretty familiar with the speedrunning community, and he's quite savvy in like the direction that it was going, like kind of away from Twitch where the viewership was like splitting apart from the big top dogs of speedrunning into like several hundreds and thousands of streamers that are all competing for viewership in a sense. Although I don't like to really view it that way because a lot of people just stream their runs just to show them live and for proof
Mm-hmm.
and to be part of a community, not necessarily because they want to grow their stream to be super massive or anything.
Yeah,
But in
but
terms of like taking speedrunning to the next level and introducing to the most people, YouTube content was the way.
mm-hmm.
It was the move.
Definitely. And it popped off once a lot of people started making content around it.
Yeah.
Like it just
Although it did just start off with like the world record progression stuff. But
mm-hmm.
then Easyscape was probably more experimental because he would go over more like little bits of history, such as the top 10 list of certain things in speedruns, like top 10 most viewed speedrunning videos on YouTube,
Mm-hmm.
or like top 10 most theoretically longest speedruns, or like the shortest ones and
Mm-hmm.
whatnot. Or maybe certain stories about like why runners use like the Japanese version instead of the English version, simple stuff like that, because it wasn't just restricted to world record progression. And I mean, Salt eventually made the 4-2 video for Mario 1, which definitely broke out of that world record progression mold, but
Mm-hmm.
he was very much the world record progression guy.
Yeah.
And Easyscape was like one of the few people that didn't make the world record progression or a compilation style video, but he was more of like a top 10 guy until he started to tell like more stories that necessarily weren't, they were sometimes related to world records. I think most of them were, but it wasn't necessarily like a strict like progression of the whole entire game's history. And when you get into like 2019, you really start to see people get more experimental with speedrunning content and realizing that you can make news style videos that covers like recent events that happen in speedrunning, or maybe a historical video that talks about a time in speedrunning where this trick was found like a decade ago because some 55-year-old man was playing GoldenEye and took like a strategy guide super literally to keep your nose to the ground and accidentally discovered the look down strats that reduced lag
Hmm,
and got world records with it.
that's funny. I haven't heard of that.
Oh
That's sick.
yeah. Yeah, there was legit this like GoldenEye runner like from I think the early 2000s that took the advice of a guide literally when playing Streets and I think got Streets 113
Hmm.
with it.
Oh, and then Streets 112.
Oh, Streets 112 was like
Classic.
that's Christmas of 2013. That's going to turn like 10 years old this year.
Oh boy.
Oh my god. Sure, there was like highlight vids like that in speedrunning, but I kind of view stuff like Streets 112 the same way that I view Wombo Combo, where it definitely grows way out of its target audience. Like some of Wombo Combo, not just a melee video anymore, it's just like a meme. Same thing with like Streets 112, because it just drew people that weren't interested in speed running like to this concept. But at the same time, it didn't always like bring a bunch of people to speedrunning. It was one of those things that just kind of grew like so massive that the original context was kind of lost.
Yeah, everyone just quotes it. They don't understand it. It's just
Yeah, same thing with Wombo Combo. It was like doubles at Genesis 2, one of the biggest melee tournaments in early 2010s,
yeah.
2010s. I think it was like in 2011 or maybe it was even the first Genesis back in 2009. I can't even remember. Like shoot, I don't even remember the full context other than it was just a sick doubles combo.
Yeah. It's
And
crazy.
yet that
That's how
context,
memes form, I guess.
yeah, it's just kind of interesting how that context just can be completely lost whenever it's introduced to a new audience.
I think that's like the definition of memes. Like the original context it was made for just being lost and people running with whatever they want to make of it.
Yeah. But I think what's cool about speedrunning content on YouTube is that you can highlight topics that people are thinking about unconsciously in their head and they don't know if a video exists on it or not. But when a video like it eventually comes out, it just seems to bring a bunch of people together and thinking, "Oh yeah, that's a thing," and I remember it pretty well. It's kind of a sense of nostalgia. That's why I think that Summoning Salt, when in August of 2018, when he made the Mario Kart Wii Ultra Shortcut video, I think that's the reason why it popped off because you also grew up with Mario Kart Wii, clearly,
Oh,
because we were like, wait, you did?
no, I did. Oh, I did.
Oh yeah, because when we were in like the SGDQ, like a hotel room one night, we were just messing around with ultra shortcuts. You got like the Grumble Volcano first try because it's free as hell, and then Wario's Gold Mine. We were just trying to get 3 for 3, and it took us like 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. Uh oh yeah, don't worry. I grew up with that
Yeah,
game.
see, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of people, yourself included, probably heard about ultra shortcuts like way, way back in the day.
I don't know if I did actually. I
Well,
don't
I
think
did. You know, in terms of like glitch, actually, I think my first exposure, other than like that task I watched back in 2008, might have been when I connected my Wii to the internet back in 2010, and I would look up what the fastest time trial ghost for Mario Kart tracks were, as well as like racing online. And every time I'd go on Grumble Volcano, I'd see people go on like this side of the map and thinking, what are they doing like out of bounds going that? And then suddenly, like once they go back on the track, the race would end 30 seconds later, and I wonder what the hell happened. So then I downloaded the time trial ghost, which is a world record held by Niyaki at the time. I think like someone from Japan who was setting like a bunch of ultra shortcut records at the time, and he did it with Baby Mario on the bullet bike in less than 20 seconds, and that's my first exposure to ultra shortcuts. And then I looked it up on YouTube and I found out the one in like Wario's Gold Mine, and as well as Mushroom Gorge, Coconut Mall. You know the drill. And
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of kids learn that, especially when people would just do it all the time whenever they raced Grumble Volcano on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, I think
And,
my thing with the ultra shortcut video was the same way, like the speed running, how I connected with that, like because Salt made the Mario 1 video. I connected to it through that game, but I didn't know what speedrunning was, so it introduced me. I think that video like introduced me to ultra shortcuts as a game I grew up with a lot because I remember seeing like a time trial in like 2010. It was the Funky Kong Flame Runner, of course,
mhm,
but it was Rainbow
yeah.
Road. You would do this jump at the start and like fly down the
Oh,
first
the moon
section.
jump where
Yeah, the
where
moon jump.
you do like the mushroom at the start and then input like a hop, so you just go down.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Mm.
remember that, but that's like my. I was more into like the custom track thing. I downloaded CTGP in like 2010, so I
I
more
mean,
went that route back
I was
then.
into CGP at like back then as well. It just I happened to download like Time Trial Ghost and wondered how these glitches worked and whatnot. And I'm pretty sure people like heard about it through word of mouth, like on
Hmm.
the playground back in the day, or especially like if they were more internet savvy back in the day and you were in the Mario Kart Wii community, because there's like topics about ultra shortcuts quite a bit. But because of that, I mean, it both introduced a sense of nostalgia to people that knew what ultra shortcuts were back in Mario Kart Wii,
Hmm.
as well as introducing ultra shortcuts to a new audience and introducing it all to a concept of speedrunning. Because
Hmm.
I knew about the shortcuts and I knew people set world records with it, but I never really thought about it in the context of like how it was used in a world record speedrun. And I think that's what resonated with a lot of people. A mix
Hmm.
of nostalgia and discovery.
Yeah, it's funny because like for like typical speed runs to a new person, they wouldn't be nostalgic about it, but shortcuts are something that some people could know. And then if you don't know about it, you are gonna know Mario Kart Wii. It's like a game recent enough to not be like super old, but like anyone can have nostalgia for it almost. So it's like you pull in like so many more people that way, and it all combines into this one thing that everyone now knows what it is almost.
Same time, you say Mario Kart Wii ain't that old, but Mario Kart Wii in the current year is a 15-year-old game.
Listen, I
And
play Mario
when
1,
I first
so
saw that Mario, yeah, but also keep this in mind, it is a 15-year-old game.
mhm,
And when I saw the Mario 64 task back in 2008, the 16-star one, that was Mario 64 was released 12 years before that task.
mhm.
So Mario Kart Wii is older now than Super Mario 64 was back then when
Mhm.
Mario Kart Wii was new. That's some food for thought. That's gonna like mess with your mind a bit.
I guess like 10 to 15 years is like the nostalgic time, I don't know, gap that you need.
Oh, absolutely. Like back in the early 2000s, whenever you'd see game reviews on the internet, they
Mhm.
revered the NES as like the pinnacle of gaming back in like the late 80s, early 90s. And
Mhm.
then by the 2010s, you have more game reviewers that grew up with the 90s, stuff like the SNES, the N64, and the PlayStation that would review those games as their like primary showcase. Stuff people like Peanut Butter Gamer and
Mhm.
whatnot. And then now in the 2020s, I think we're in that gap now where our generation is more nostalgic for stuff like released on like the PS2, GameCube, and Wii era.
Yeah, like the 2000s.
Yep, it's always like that, like 15 to 10 year gap
Mhm.
between now and back then to our childhoods.
Yeah, that's like the sweet spot. And so I feel like in the next 15 years, you're going to be nostalgic about being nostalgic for, and it's
Oh
funny.
man, I'm gonna feel so old whenever there's people gonna be nostalgic over the Switch because that came out when I was 17.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're like the same age. I forget that. So
Yeah,
basically
you're like
same.
a year older.
Hmm.
They're like we're basically the same generations. Like
Yeah.
the Zillennials. We're kind of like sandwiched between the Millennials and Gen Z.
The best place to be. It's funny because I
Mhm.
don't think there's a lot of like speedrunners in this era. I feel like they're either like really young or like really old, and like the people in their 20s at this point are like a little fewer than the opposite sides.
It's kind of interesting to think about because 10 years ago there were a lot more people in our age demographic that were doing runs.
Hmm.
But maybe
Just
there's more. I guess it really just depends on the community because certain communities kind of like lean towards like younger or older or whatnot. Like stuff like Minecraft and Mario Odyssey tends to attract more of like a younger crowd,
yeah.
while an established, even like Mario 1. Mario 1 is kind of like a mishmash. Same
Mario
thing with
one's
like
weird. It there's like so many like older people that play it. There's ton of
yeah.
younger people that play it now, especially. I remember when I started, I was like considered young, and now I'm. If I started, people that started that age are like just in the middle. It's not young at all.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I was 17 when I first got into speedrunning Mario Odyssey, like a month after it came out. Because that was like the first community I really let myself get super involved in for a while.
Yeah.
And now to think that I'm like, and now there's people that are way younger in that community than I was when the game was new. I am kind of like in that weird middle spot. But also like back to Mario 1, it's just kind of interesting because other games on the NES like Mega Man games and like Zelda 1 or Zelda 2, those are like the average runner is like way older.
Hmm. Yeah, it's well, they also don't get like a ton of new people interested. I mean, surely they do, but usually it's like the old school people just stick around. And obviously as time goes on, they're going to get older. That's how aging works. So,
Yeah, and some people just stick in the communities for a really long time
yeah, like
because
Andrew
at the end of the
G.
day, it's just like a hobby that's for everyone.
Hmm.
But it can be kind of hard to grow a certain speed game naturally in that sort of sense because sometimes it just happens as like a fad. Like on Twitch right now, a lot of big streamers sometimes race each other in like Minecraft, like the random seed glitch lists.
Hmm.
Definitely Mario 64 16 star. That's just the quintessential for all your big streamers nowadays.
Hmm.
Or sometimes it could be like a little bit of a fad created by a YouTuber like Ludwig, who got people to speed run Mario Party Superstars all mini games on master difficulty.
Yeah, I've seen that around a lot recently.
Yeah, which actually seems kind of interesting. It's stuff like that that makes me think, hey, I want to give this a try.
Hmm. Yeah, there's so many more incentives in speedrunning now that like more the top streamers pull off. It's weird because like, when I started, like all the things that would pop up in speedrunning were just runs. Like even back then, but now it's always like a content creator like uses speedrunning in their content, like even if they're not known for it or something.
Yeah,
Like
but
it's
that
just
being
like
said,
this popular topic, I guess.
but at the same time, any random speed run you could upload on YouTube can actually catch wind if you just say like the time. Because the average viewer will not know if it's a world record or not or really
Hmm.
close. They'll just see the low time, they'll see broken stuff being used, and they'll think, wow, this person is absolutely cracked at this game. And then their mind could be blown even further when they discover like the top runs and whatnot.
Or you can put world record in your title and no one cares.
Yeah, but I feel like that kind of clickbait's hard to get away with nowadays, and it's kind of frowned upon. And not to
Well,
mention,
it's not
just
clickbait,
uploading.
it's just
I
true.
mean, yeah, I guess that's a good way to like build like a VOD or highlights channel because a
Hmm.
main channel, I don't think it's necessarily the best if you're like grinding out content, like edited scripted content to upload your PBs just raw there.
Yeah, you need a
Nowadays,
second channel
a
for that
lot of
now.
oh, yeah, a lot of people just have like an archive channel just to not pollute like or mix like the different types of content because some people subscribe for the PBs, other people might subscribe for the edited content, and it can affect like video's performance, like what kind of audience you're cating for, what are my subs like coming for the most.
Hmm. Yeah, but you have like that content creation mindset. I speak from like a someone who's just been uploading their PBs
Mhm.
thing. I
Yeah,
haven't
I
dipped
mean,
my
if
toes
you're
into that
treating
yet.
it, I mean, it's one thing if you're just treating your channel as a place to upload PBs purely as an archive and really don't really want to take it seriously. There's nothing wrong with that. That's
Hmm.
totally valid. I'm just thinking it from the approach of like if I wanted to grow an audience on YouTube, I would approach this differently.
Hmm. No, that makes sense. It just, you know, old speedrunners, that was what they did on YouTube. And they
Yeah,
like,
but
Darby's
now I
huge for just doing that. It's kind of
yeah, I
crazy.
mean Darby's just an anomaly.
Hmm.
Like he's just popular no matter what he does. Just
It's
because
true.
he got like he came at like the perfect time. Like I don't know what it was, but around the time like flagpole glitch was new and he was getting world records and got like the first 456. I don't know what it was about 456 as a milestone, but that milestone brought more attention to Mario 1 speedrunning than any other. Not even 455 and not even 454 if that's hard to believe.
454 has like been really small. I think 455 was even bigger than 54 for
Yeah,
some reason.
455 is bigger, which you think it would because 454 is literally the last second barrier in the
Yeah.
game proven. Not even the task can get any lower than this. 453 is currently not possible because no
Hmm.
frames have been saved in a task for like over 12 years at this point.
Hmm.
It's just absolutely nuts. But I think the reason, I don't know how I would describe it. Darby just came at this arbitrarily perfect time with that milestone, and that video is like the most popular Mario 1 speedrun on YouTube,
Hmm.
world record wise. Like it has an incredible number of views. and I think that boosted his popularity a ton.
Hmm.
And people found Darbian really charming as a personality, and he also got like the dragster like 557, just prove he can do it. And then he would just do a bunch of other random games. He would just upload. Shoot, he uploaded a random PB of Sonic 2 that wasn't even close to the world record, and that got a lot of views.
Yeah, that was a
'Cause
12-hour challenge thing. Pretty sure.
yeah. Oh man, the 12-hour challenge. God, I love the
Hmm.
12-hour challenge, honestly.
I love it too.
Although I will admit, I've done the 12-hour challenge several times in the past just to complete a run, but also to, and then I would never go back to revisit those runs and ever again.
Hmm.
But I feel like that was a really interesting activity. I'm not sure if it's still a thing that happens
It
nowadays.
it is. I haven't seen
Okay,
it recently, but I'm
yeah, I just don't see any like big creators do the 12-hour challenge as much anymore, but I have seen videos of it in that style. Like recently, I think Simply did one for Breath of the Wild a couple months back.
yeah, he did how fast can I learn the speed run and however much time it
Yeah.
was. Yeah.
Yeah, other people do it like in a week long challenge. I think
Hmm.
that's what Easy Speasy did back in
Yeah,
2020.
that was like his start to content. I remember because he
Yeah.
specifically did a Mario 1 one.
Yeah. I will well, I'll get to talking about him in a bit because I kind of like talking about this stuff in a chronological order because we're
Yeah,
jumping
yeah.
to 2020 when it's already established that a lot of speedrun creators are starting to get an idea that this is a new wave on YouTube and I want on board. And a lot of
Hmm.
people started making that kind of scripted content. Like Carl got his start in 2019 and told like a stories like some GoldenEye record stories as well as current events like talk about sub like a Nicrovita getting a sub hour in Mario Odyssey as well as the Furnace Fun glitch discovery
Hmm.
in Banjo Kazooie. Stuff like that. Like just talking about random stuff from a game or like development, it was like super flexible. It didn't fit like the traditional mold set by other creators. It was like proof that you could just make a video about anything you want related to speedrunning, and if you marketed it well, it would do really well. Like another example, M Sushi, Portal Runner, Half-Life Runner, he was doing a lot of different videos about this where he would say how speedrunners skip this part of the game, like in Portal and whatnot. And it
Hmm.
would be like a short, brief video where they talk about an interesting obstacle in, let's say, Portal or Half-Life, and they would discuss how this important roadblock was skipped in the process, how it was discovered, how the mechanics work and whatnot. And those popped off and launched M Sushi's career. And then you had people like in 2020, more people started coming in. Waifu, who runs a lot of horror games and action game speedruns, did like videos such as uh what is the luckiest Resident Evil 4 speedrun look like, where he looked at the world record and compared like where were the time losses due to RNG and what would a perfect run look like in that scenario. You could just imagine a speedrunning video on YouTube is like a mold of clay or Play-Doh,
Hmm.
and if you could just mold it into theoretically anything you want, whatever like how interesting the topic may be or not. It doesn't have to fit that world record progression history mold. It doesn't have to fit into a top 10 mold.
Hmm.
It can be anything that sounds interesting to someone.
Yeah, and then they usually always do well. So.
Yeah. But also, I think that what makes speedrunning content super lucrative, other than the fact that there's a really big potential audience for it, is that if you're super passionate about the things you're talking about, it's an avenue to talk about stories in speedrunning that you don't think anyone else will be telling.
Hmm.
Because of
Especially
these
if it's
things.
like a personal story, like you know a lot about it, and so like, well, I know the most
Yeah,
about it, so I would be the one to talk about
yeah.
this, and no
Like
one else knows what
I,
I
I
know.
can give I can give a few examples, like from my start as making speedrunning content.
Yeah.
Because because back in like 2019, I really wanted to get into YouTube as a hobby, but I failed a lot. I tried a lot of different things. I was even like a Scott the Woz ripoff at one point, as embarrassing as looking back at that era was. And then I just got into other hobbies and just kind of put it at the side for now. And then February 2020 rolls around, and I think, man, if I really want to make videos again, there's a lot of speedrunners that are like doing really well and getting like millions of views on random viral hits that they make. I should just put my hat in the ring. And then COVID hit, and that just gave me even more time to work on something.
Hmm.
Like even before it became a big problem, I was debating making a first speedrunning video. Why do speedrunners play on the Japanese version of games? And the day that I wanted to start working on it, the day after, Easyscape uploads a video on that topic.
Hmm.
And I'm like, damn it, that topic's taken. I can't do that. It'll make it look like I'm copying him. And based on what he says, I don't really have much more to add to the topic. So then I started thinking about topics I could talk about. And I thought about something kind of personal, because one of my favorite speed runs to watch back in the day was Mario Sunshine. But the thing that put off a lot of people from Sunshine over the years after its initial like hit in popularity back in 2016, and especially after 2014 with GBS,
Mm-hmm.
was there's this really long intro sequence where you watch a cutscene, play a little bit, you get a cutscene on how Flood works, and then you fight this little mini boss, get your shine, and then you get like this long 2-minute cutscene of like a court case before you can run around Isle Delfino.
Yeah, it's like 5 minutes
And
of cutscenes that you just have to sit through every single time.
yup. And then recently the community had tried to like make certain votes and stuff. There was like a debate on whether they would do race file where you start a run after you collect the first shine and after all those cutscenes, but then that was vetoed because that skipped gameplay technically.
Mm-hmm.
So they eventually came, there was also this idea called two file where people would do the gameplay on a file that I think had already no, they would start like a new file and then see like the cutscenes up until the first shine, and then once they collect the first shine, they reset and then they load another file that had already collected the first shine but skips that long 2-minute court cutscene.
Hmm.
And there's some it was kind of allowed back then, but then in 2020 this debate comes to a head where they come off a bit of a compromise. They allowed two new timing methods in additional to the traditional one. Like one was the Peach file, where you would have a hacked memory. Or no, you would watch the first cutscene, and then you would save the game after talking to Peach, and then after you load that, you would start the file from Peach, but you would add the timer would start like after the cutscene would end originally. And then the other method, which was a bit more um, questionable in terms of purity, was a hacked file, where
Mm-hmm.
you would take your memory card from your GameCube and connect it to your Wii using homebrew software, and you would modify the values in the memory card to switch the cutscene flags, to where you'd play the game normally. It would just skip those cutscenes,
Mm-hmm.
specifically the intro cutscenes, and you would add like a time penalty at the beginning of your run. And it's allowed and is the standard for a lot of timed runs to this day.
Mm-hmm.
Even a lot of people that were opposed to it use it now just so they get less frustrated with like the beginning of the runs. And I made a video on that topic because I thought it was really interesting, even if it was a little bit like spicy of a topic. And it got like 100 views. It was kind of modest.
Mm-hmm.
Then Nindede got the first 113, which was like a huge milestone in Sunshine, because that was a milestone he was gunning for 5 years prior when he was an absolute monster at the game.
Mm-hmm.
And he was way ahead of the time. Like when he first got 114, he was a full minute ahead of the second place runner, which is unheard of in a game like as popular as Sunshine back then. It was an astounding lead, and to see him like race with like the new guard of like JJ and Ouija and Nanashi to get the first 113 after being away from the game for so long due to health issues, it was like an incredible comeback. And I wanted to make a video documenting that because I thought it was like one of the most incredible like milestone journeys in speedrunning. Because at the time, the talk of the town was still from February earlier that year, with Cheese getting the 138 at Break the Record Live.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized no one's talking about this Sunshine. I got to make a video on this because I care about this game so much. And it's just fine. But what really makes that video pop off is what I upload next in September. I begin like the first semester, like a fall semester in college after, COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's a mix of like in-person and hybrid after going fully online in the middle of spring last year. And I still have like a lot of time to make some videos, and I'm like writing a script in the commuter lounge, because at the time, like in previous years, I would stay at the dorm because I had some friends. But because a lot of people had, social distance and stuff, I just did like a long 5-minute commute to school.
Mm-hmm.
And I would just, whenever I wasn't in class, I would just do a lot of research, and I would type up like scripts in the student lounge. And one idea that really hit me was something inherently obvious. The history of the BLJ in Mario 64.
Hmm.
I even like looked on YouTube. Did anyone make a history video on this? No results.
Mm.
The closest thing ever was like a really old 80% history video of Mario 64 by Summoning Salt by 2017, which wasn't necessarily surrounding by the BLJ. It just talked about like how it went from 70 star to 50 star to 31 star to 16 star to 1 star to 0 star.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that there was more applications of the BLJ because it didn't talk about how BLJs were sometimes used in 120 shines. Oh, no, 120 stars.
Mm-hmm.
It's not sunshine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 120 stars, such as like in the Hazy Maze cave to skip like
Yeah.
the maze for that
Toxic
one
Maze
star.
BLJ. Yeah.
Yeah, the Toxic Maze BLJ. You also sometimes see people do it in IL strats for individual levels. And the more interesting one, I think, is the one key task.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to mention that and like the mechanics of the BLJ and how it worked, as well as like a little bit of how it was discovered. And I made that video because I thought it was super interesting, but I did not anticipate like how big it would get.
What's it at
At the same
now?
time, in hindsight, it's like so obvious because a video that talks about one of the most famous speedrunning glitches ever obviously was gonna like take off.
Yeah.
And I was just more shocked at uh why no one had done it before.
Mm-hmm. So how
Looking
big did
back
it
at it.
get?
It has over 1 million views now.
Yeah,
But to
that's a
show you how
lot.
big it was at the time of making the video when I was writing the script, I had 50 subscribers.
Mm.
By the
Yeah.
time I uploaded it, I was approaching 100 because uh I think there was a Small Ant video where he was trying to learn Sunshine in 24 hours, and my video on the 113, like Ndede getting it, that reached 1,000 views because it was getting recommended due to that video
Mm-hmm.
around the same day that I uploaded History of the BLJ. And then day one, it already hits like 1,000 views, which is incredibly fast.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 days later, it hits 100K.
Holy shit.
And I'm getting like 1,000 subs nearly every day. And I get up by the end of the month, I have like 12,000 subs. It was crazy growth.
Yeah,
Going from like
that's
50 to 12,000. Honestly, my biggest regret was not like capitalizing more on that growth, but I was a busy college student.
mm-hmm.
Even to this day, I feel like I could be a lot bigger if I capitalized more on that. But it still was okay because I was uploading like a couple more that year, and every single video would hit 100K views within 2 weeks.
Jeez.
I cannot believe like how like successful those videos were. Nowadays I can like do that, but I feel like it depends on topic. I feel like I've gotten a bit experimental with certain topics, which is why some videos kind of cap off at like 20K at worst, or maybe like 50K at best. But
Still not
also,
bad.
but then I get stuff occasionally that's really good that gets near like the millions or in the millions.
Mm.
Because I think the key to making content like that is you gotta, one, have the passion for the topic you're talking about. Because I notice a lot of my less successful videos aren't always about the topics I'm the most interested in and feel like I do it out of obligation or just because I think people would be interested. Because obviously you want to make videos that you think people would be interested in. But if you want to keep people interested, it has to be a topic that you genuinely care about in order to tell the best story imaginable.
Yep.
Sure, packaging the video is one thing, but telling an investment story that you really, really care about is another.
Yeah, if you like don't care about, people are gonna notice. So it has to
Yeah,
be something you do
or if you
care
do
about.
it just because you think it will catch on.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there's a you'll see like the passion really show when you do certain explanations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, there's a load of topics out there, so it's easy to
I
find
think part
something.
I think part of the reason that really kicked me in the gear to make videos was I would talk about these in like casual conversations with friends, like certain speedrun tricks and histories and whatnot. I'm thinking, why the hell am I just explaining to my friends? They're not gonna listen anyways. I'm gonna have a hard time keeping the details right and talking straight.
Mm-hmm.
Just make a video about it, script it, edit, make it polished. Boom. Easy. Well, not really easy. It's a
Easy.
lot of work sometimes.
Yeah, just many hours of work. Easy. Easy every time.
I will say though, it feels easier when you actually care about the topic a lot.
Yeah.
The hard part could be like maybe stuff that annoys me. Like the stuff that annoys me the most is like editing audio. I'm not very good at that.
Mm-hmm. But you also, if you want to like get into it, you don't have to like be perfect in how you edit all that stuff.
Oh, absolutely. Everyone has to start from somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like the bar for like what's considered good editing is actually lower than people think.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think I do pretty basic editing for my videos, but I get compliments for like the occasional ambitious edit that I do. That really isn't that ambitious. I just fool around with some basic settings in Premiere.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it is a lot easier to get into that people think, and what puts people off is just like thinking about the amount of work that has to be done, and like, oh, I know I wouldn't like editing this part, or like the audio stuff, or whatever it is, or maybe editing seems
Yeah.
like a daunting task or something,
I mean,
just in
just
general.
getting a few done and under your belt is more than enough, in my opinion, just to
Mm-hmm.
get it out there. Because you could save the ambitious edits for something else. Sure, you might want to start off making videos about topics you genuinely care about, like a lot, like things that you think would be interesting stories always.
Mm-hmm.
Because even if you think it's a topic too good to do right away, just do it. Like,
Yeah.
if I really wanted to, I could think, oh, history of the BLJ. Oh, sounds very ambitious. I'm not gonna do this for another year. No, no, don't have that ambitious. Just do the best idea you got in your head right now.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe some exceptions could be something that requires too much work, like a full-on world record progression video.
Yeah.
Unless you just want to do that kind of infrequently.
Yeah. Makes sense. I
Yeah.
mean, again, there are so many topics you could choose, and
Yeah,
everyone's gonna have all their own likes and dislikes, so there's something out there.
absolutely. Because I think a bigger incentive is think about all the stories that might go untold otherwise.
Mm-hmm.
Because you might look at a creator, like Something Salt. This even happens on videos that already explain a topic very well. Like I'll make a video about like beating the Brawl demo in Ocarina of Time, or like a full on like semi like progression video in Luigi's Mansion. No, straight up, it was like a world record progression video.
Mm-hmm.
And people will go in the comments thinking, I can't wait for the Summoning Salt video on this. Unironically.
No,
Because
yeah.
there's two problems with that. One, there doesn't need to be a video on that if other people can do the same job. And two, Summoning Salt is just one person.
Yeah.
He can't just do everything. He doesn't know a lot of like all the games very well. As
Yeah.
a matter of fact, I feel like he only does games now that he personally has played. For the
Uh,
most part, I feel like.
no.
Well, he
Uh,
does. Oh, okay. Like I'm pretty sure I'm trying to remember like in the interview like what caused him to like pick something like Lego Star Wars, because I feel like
uh,
2018 Summoning Salt would never do that.
yeah, I'm trying to remember, but I mean, like, he did Pokemon like forever ago. He's not a
Never
Pokemon
played a
guy.
Pokemon game.
No. So stuff like oh, there goes the internet again. Um, 5 seconds, please. Only take 5 seconds. That'd be PogChamp. Looks no, we're disconnecting. We disconnecting here. Hell yeah. This is the
So that you
content.
know the game.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, we I disconnected. Yahoo. Oh, stream back? Nope. Come on. You can do it. No, it can't. OBS, please. Oh my god, why is it taking 6 attempts? I'm obviously back. I can see and hear you again.
Okay, just let me
Bro,
know.
OBS, come on, man.
Well, just let me know when I'm unfrozen.
Uh, well, my stream isn't live is the problem. I mean, the recording
Oh,
will be okay, finally it came back. Wow. My internet. It is a fun thing to deal with, let me tell you. Makes live content quite hard. Maybe I should just become a YouTuber because then I don't have to worry about my shitty internet.
I that's a good point right there. At the same time, I feel like that's a lot of things that a lot of top speedrun creators are noticing, that especially with like this I know this is like fresh off the presses, but there's like this new like Twitch like drama with like ad integration or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
like not wanting to do like third party ads, like burn in ads on the stream, and it's causing a lot of uproar on the sustainability of Twitch as a platform, whether it's like the future of like place as a creator.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a big
That's why I
foggy area right now.
Yeah, that's why I feel like it's important. Like once people have set certain goals in like speedrunning and are eager to try something new outside of it, I feel like going into content on like edited content on YouTube is the path to go down. Just
Hmm.
because one, it diversifies your portfolio because you never want to put your eggs all in one basket, especially when it comes to making content,
Yeah.
especially on a professional or semi-professional level.
Hmm.
And two, it's just a fantastic way to build your audience. Because think, and also your game too, if you really care about a certain game. Like think about Maximum, for example. That's a really good example. I'm not sure if you've heard of him or
I know.
interviewed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, Maximum. He does like a lot of flash game speedruns, such as like Red Ball or like World's Hardest Game. Like games, flash games people know about, but wouldn't know that there's certain speedruns for. And then you just make a video about like the history of Sub 20 Train and Red Ball. And a lot of people probably don't know what Red Ball is, but they captivate it in such a way that it makes it interesting and brings new people. And then he made just a bunch of Red Ball documentaries
Yeah, you
that
capture the
did really well.
nostalgia and then
Yeah.
speed run.
Not just the sort of
Topic.
you can use
Yeah.
sorry, you go on.
I was just saying, like, yeah, it connects back to the whole, Mario Kart thing and my connection with Mario 1 World Record Progression. Like, you capture them with the nostalgia of the game and then introduce them to speedrunning. So you capturing them and then shoving something else in their face that they'll probably like, why is my internet so bad?
Or
Oh, wait.
oh,
Okay. Quick. That was a quick one. That was a speedrun glitch. We're good.
okay. And the best part about this strategy, especially the content on YouTube, is it doesn't have to be the most well-known game, not just a speedrunner, but just ever. You could
Hmm.
just, if you know how to market really well, your like speedrun well, you can make it seem really interesting to someone, even if it's a game that you've never heard of before.
Yeah, I think it's easier to like capture people with the speedrunning being the thing now that grabs the attention. Like, oh, you're a fan of speedrunning. Let me grab you in, and then here's something you don't know about, but it's super interesting. You know,
Yeah, like I think,
so it works both ways
I
now.
mean, I think it was an Easy Escape video that taught me about Super Hot, like that
Super hot,
VR game.
nice. Yeah, I that was the run before my run at
Yeah, I
GDQ.
first heard about that game because of an Easy Escape video back in like 2019 about VR speedruns or something.
Hmm.
And then there's obvious elephant in the room. I brought up as a perfect example of like marketing a speedrun video well, like Simply's Amok Runner video where it
Those are
was,
good. Yeah.
yeah, like give speedrunners $10,000 in 14 days this happens. Or even like a speedrun gauntlet like what Ludwig did where it said where he's like I think the thumbnails were like beating like four of the hardest games ever in an hour, and it was I think a couple Pogo Stuck games and Jump King,
Jeff Game Pogo stuck in
and getting over it.
getting over it. That's it.
Yeah, those four games, like the God Gamer Gauntlet, as he
Yeah, yeah,
called
yeah.
it.
Hmm.
And I mean, Pogo Stuck is like pretty well known. Oh, I mean, not as well known as let's say Jump King or Getting Over It, but he used Pogo Stuck in the thumbnail, and it still did pretty well, even though I'm pretty sure a lot of people that clicked on it might have not known what Pogo Stuck was.
Hmm. That's like the one thing I've never really seen anything about. I played Jump King and I refuse to play Getting Over It because I would hate my life, but
Yeah,
yeah, I know what it is. It took the internet by storm, so how could I not?
yeah. I know that like for like I think back in 2020 there was actually a Jump King RTA event held by Twitch Rivals, I believe.
Really? Hmm,
Yeah,
that's neat.
I'm not sure if it was necessarily like US or English Twitch, but I do know that it was a thing.
Hmm. Yeah, Twitch Rivals usually doesn't do anything like speedrun oriented, so.
Yeah, not too much. I think the most recent thing they did was either Trackmania or like Minecraft,
Oh, did they do
like
track?
their
Oh,
own
okay. I guess that's pretty good.
yeah.
I just remember all the Fall Guys things from when I was
Yeah.
I was never in one of those, but when I was
Yeah.
into Fall Guys, I saw a lot of those. So I thought they were like a more either battle royale, competitive, team based whatever. So I didn't know how that related to speedrunning, but if they have something.
Yeah. I think the weird thing to me with speedrunning is that it really makes speedrunning seem more popular than it actually is, because the actual speedrunning community is very passionate, but quite small in comparison to most other like gaming communities out there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, speedrunning is well known. There's a reason why it gets so much views and attention on YouTube. And like when certain events like GDQ happens, always like tens of thousands of viewers and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not like a super big thing that's a lot of people do, because I feel like there's this misconception that it's super hard to get into, and admittedly that is kind of like a lot of people's fault, YouTubers' faults, myself included, to make like speedrunning like getting a top run is like super hard in any game really.
Mm-hmm. Here, I have a good example. I did it. There you go. That's good
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah, I mean anyone with enough time and dedication do that. But at the same time I feel like, I guess one step to make speedrunning seem more accessible is to make that kind of content. Which is why I think that Easy Speezy is an absolute genius when it comes to speedrunning YouTube.
Yeah, he kind of
And he did it
destroyed
by accident.
everyone.
Thing is, he started off with like a pretty neat idea about like how good can I get at a certain speed game in 1 week.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how I got like my inspiration to do the Ocarina of Time video. That and like how AlphaRad did that one for Mario Odyssey recently.
Mm-hmm.
Even if that video is kind of like like a pretty like kind of flopping in performance on my channel right now, I'm pretty sure people will be interested like if I get more viewers to my channel, they look through my old stuff. So I'm not really too worried about it performing poorly right now,
Mm-hmm.
which is weird to say for a video that has like 15K views.
I mean, that's not bad. That's more than
Yeah,
my most
I guess
popular video.
yeah, I guess it's just like the standards I set, because over half of my videos on my channel have over 100K views, and I've kind of set the bar pretty high for myself. That's really hard to match up to.
Yeah, so easy speasy.
Yeah,
Started with that and is like now
yeah, and
it's
then
very
he did
casual, which
yeah.
is
Well, then
interesting.
he did Yandere simulator, like his like different speedrun stuff, because they kept on patching glitches, and he was documenting like how ridiculous it was because he ran the game.
Hmm. Yeah, it's
And because
very
he had
casual
been like
audience, I
he had,
think.
I mean, is a very casual audience.
Hmm.
It's kind of different from your traditional speedrunning audience, but he does it in a way where he shows off like legitimately cool strategies that clearly separate him from just some random person playing the game.
Yeah, yeah.
Like he might not spend like all the time on a certain game because he like grinds a game for like a couple weeks or like a week and then moves on because he wants to just cover as many games as possible. But then he has his mainstays too, like Cuphead's like one of his mainstays.
It's an interesting formula of like how simple it is in terms of like just showing the thing and having like the basic bear timer in the corner or something. But
Yeah, or split.
explaining it in a way where like the casual audience can understand, as well as like explaining all of the interesting things you're doing that make the speed run like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
So,
And not to mention, you could even take it further, because you could take that very basic concept and you could go crazy with like certain editing and explanations of
mhm,
just you doing a run. Not even like a top level run, just a run that like showcases a lot of cool stuff and is still fast.
mhm.
Like I've thought about doing that kind of idea too in the future, just to expand the content, because I thought of like several like really cool ideas. I'm not sure if I should really share all of them,
You
because
don't
I
have to.
know that they would do like probably not, because I know that they like this format does really well.
Mhm.
Like I think one example that did really well was Linkus showing like Twilight's Princess speedruns are broken in 2022. And it was just him doing like a really rusty run of Twilight Princess, but still showing off all the major skips and whatnot.
Yeah, like more of a showcase oriented instead of like an
Yeah,
actual speedrun orientation. Kind of like
yeah.
GDQ is.
It really is just like GDQ, and that was kind of what I'm getting my own point there, which is
Mm.
it's kind of melancholic in a way, because GDQ might not be like super popular. I mean, people were talking about like the lower view count this
Oh,
year,
that's a
especially this
bunch of
week.
factors. They were raised over two
They're the
million. I think they're doing okay.
Yeah, they're doing well charity wise. I don't think that they're definitely not falling off
Mm-mm.
like completely in terms of popularity, because they still raise millions of dollars for charity. They still get tens of thousands of people to watch concurrently,
Mm-hmm.
which is something that people should not underrate in the slightest. It is still
That's
so hard to
massive.
get. Yeah, they're not going anywhere. They're still gaining followers. They're not
Mm-hmm.
losing followers. They're actually gaining more of an audience too. I
Definitely.
think the thing that I want to talk about more is just kind of like the idea of a lot of speedrun YouTubers are kind of catching on into doing speedrunning content the same way that you would do a GDQ run or a demonstration, where you
Hmm.
can do a demonstration run and you could take time to explain the tricks, maybe like take an aside to explain how this trick works in like a edited segment or whatnot, or even keep a counter of certain collectibles if it's like a 100% run or whatnot.
Hmm.
You even see that with this new trend on YouTube that I've seen over the past year or so, where people are hunting platinum trophies in like PS4 and PS5 games. That's a whole
Mm.
new genre on YouTube, and I feel like doing that but combining speedrunning has like incredible potential.
Well,
Because
achievement
I know
hunting has
that
been around a while, so you mean
I
just
know
adding a
the
timer to
concept of
it?
achievement hunting, but you can combine that with speedrunning, and
Okay.
you got something interesting.
Yeah, it's kind of like, have you heard of retro achievements? That site.
Yeah, I'm pretty aware of that.
So I think they usually have some like speedrun orientated ones. I know recently there was the whole like sub 5 and SMP1 for an achievement on the site.
Oh,
So
that's really interesting. That must
mhm.
be. Oh, that's a pretty lucrative one. I can't deny.
So I think they're like that's starting to be a thing. They're combining it at least in that
Yeah,
forum. So I can see it.
because while I think that a lot of good speedrun content is, the explanation videos, whether it be a world record progression, a glitch explanation, or maybe just like a news story or whatnot
Hmm.
about something that just happened in speedrunning that you think is really exciting, but no one is talking about for some weird reason. But you make that video and hundreds of thousands of people come in to watch it, and suddenly a lot of people care about something that not a lot of people were talking about before.
It's also good because you can take the audience you're getting and like spread them around. Like here, watch these people, and it just keeps growing
Absolutely.
everyone.
It grows the stream, it grows the community.
Hmm.
It could even get people to do runs themselves. That certainly happened with Maximum and Red Ball.
Hmm. Yeah, Red Ball
Absolutely,
went
yes. Red
popping.
Ball speedrunning like popped off back then.
Hmm. Yeah, it's interesting. And that's what I like. Like, I mean, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for a content creator doing a video that got me into it. So, I
Yeah.
mean, it works. It definitely
Yeah.
works.
Especially since I want to use it as an avenue for like games that I've just really, really started to love. Like I don't know, more so than ever, I've just felt really, really in an Ocarina of Time speedrunning scene recently. At GDQ, I was learning bingo for the first time, and I'm thinking, man,
Let's go bingo.
let's go bingo.
Let's go.
Yeah. Man, I just want to have an excuse to shoehorn bingo in a video because I feel like at least few people find it really cool.
I know a lot of
I
people
also
that
say
got
it's
into
like,
speedrunning from like bingo races, like back on
yeah,
SRL.
yeah. I mean, that's how Cosmic first got into
Yeah, okay, you
speedrunning.
know it. So, yeah.
Yeah, Cosmic got into speedrunning back in 2011 doing Ocarina of Time bingo because he thought that regular speedrunning seemed intimidating, but then he
Hmm.
watched the bingo tutorial and got into that, and that was kind of his gateway into other runs such as DK64, Billy Hatcher, and then Mario 1 eventually.
Well, he did
Yeah,
Billy Hatcher a lot later,
yeah.
but yeah.
One thing that I think an advantage I have over a lot of people though is I have kind of marinated myself in so many people's communities, so many other games communities, kind of invisible, where I've just accumulated all this knowledge that I think is interesting. And
Yeah.
that gives me like a really crazy advantage of what kind of topics I want to cover,
Yeah.
even if I don't run the game.
Yeah, I mean, knowledge is the thing you need. I mean, you if you it, what I'm trying to say, like all the information you can describe is based on research that you have done. So the more
Yeah,
knowledge you have gained, no matter which way,
yeah.
is like very
I
crucial
mean,
to producing something.
yeah. And it could be a different type of research too. Like you could just sometimes you just need to do like a whole bunch of research on a topic that you have a hard time like knowing.
Hmm.
But then other times you're interested in researching a topic that you already know pretty well and end up discovering more stuff that you didn't know beforehand.
Yeah. Or it's just like a super easy video because you know everything you're going to talk about anyway.
Yeah, like that's how I felt about like BLJ video and the Sunshine video
Hmm.
that I did
Yeah,
because I
so
already knew most of the things.
there are many levels of research you need to do depending on what you want to talk about. So,
Yeah, like I think my next video is gonna be is been a video that I did research for a lot like a year ago, and it was a script that I partially completed, but I'm like revising it now and finally doing it just because I didn't know how to market the video properly. But I
mhm,
know like with proper tweaking like to the script and whatnot, I can make it a really entertaining and a fascinating video that people want to watch. And I'll say
that's
the
the
topic
way.
right now.
Mhm.
It'll be about um catching bugs breaks Ocarina of Time.
Mm. I did hear about this a little bit.
Yeah, because there's so many glitches with the bottle. Like the bottle is arguably like the most broken item in the game, and there's so many utilizations for it. It plays an integral role to that game's speedrun history across multiple categories. That there's so I could just talk about it for a while, and I want to make a video just kind of like dumping all that out there because I think people would really like it.
I'm actually really interested in the whole like Ocarina of Time stuff because I've never played that game and I've never really watched speedruns of it. I don't know anything people are talking about, and it's like the one of the games for especially for speedrunning that people know a lot and talk about, and I'm just like, what am I missing here?
Oh
So,
man. Oh man, I feel like once I make this bottle video, you might start to get a bit, even if it's
mm,
just scratching the surface of what you can do in that game.
yeah.
Because I could also do it about other stuff. I can do it about like the shield. The
Hmm.
shield is one of the like most broken items in the game.
Hmm.
I
uh,
could do one on like a certain skip or whatnot. How the evolution of people getting like the certain item early. There's so many the potentials. Category extensions. That's
hmm.
like super underrated. You can make a video about like category extensions and get like good success out of it.
Ooh, something for me,
Yeah,
because
like
I know way too much about it.
Sorcerer had like she had a modest success with Minus World history
Hmm. Well,
and
that wasn't a
other.
category extension. That was on the main board, but I
Yeah,
guess it wasn't like
maybe not on
one
the
of the
main board,
top
but then if
things.
you want an example of category extension videos doing really well, the lowest percent video that Small Ant did for minimum captures
Mm, okay.
has 17 million views.
Holy fuck. Okay.
Like I'm not even joking. I'm gonna pull it up right now. Lowest percent. Like if I go over popular and I'll do a screen share.
Ooh, it's getting fancy.
Like see right here,
Yeah.
19 million views, even more than I thought. This is about a category extension where you try to beat Mario Odyssey while using the capture mechanic as little as possible. And it
Mm-hmm.
first started with like a few dozen captures and then goes to down to 3. And it's a really interesting world record history video. But it also is framed in an interesting way because it's not like Super Mario Odyssey minimum captures, like how many captures does it take to beat Mario Odyssey? It's like how speedrunners beat Mario Odyssey without Cappy almost. A
Mm-hmm.
bit like of like a interesting kind of clickbait you would say, but an intriguing one that still retains a good audience. If you frame a video in like that sort of way,
Yeah.
it can become very, very interesting. Another example I could show up that's more of a modest success from Linkus is one about a Wind Waker category extension.
Mm-hmm.
If I could share my screen once more, you have the craziest Zelda speedrun you've never heard of, which I think is like a 14 Earth Temple keys, which is like a really hard thing you do where you do a bunch of elaborate glitches and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Or going back to the lowest percent example, uh the speedrun where Link stares at a rupee for 17 hours, that's about the low percent run.
Mm-hmm.
And it just talks about one of the most tedious parts of the run. You kind of get the idea.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah. It's if you could find creative ways to frame category extensions. Hell, OT Brawl demo was
Oh
something that
yeah.
was just conceptual that was done as like a world first sort of thing that I decided to document. After that video came out, it became a category extensions leaderboard
Of course.
category for Ocarina of Time.
Well, I know a lot about Mario 1 category extensions.
Like if you want to get into content and want to make like interesting videos on it, like showcasing history or a showcase, I recommend watching the videos I showed you as research on how you'd want to frame it as
Hmm.
inspiration. And you can go crazy with like the category extensions like on Mario 1 that you think is interesting. Also like take a look at like Cosmic's like more obscure like Mario 1 facts that he's been doing recently that have been popping off. You can get a lot of inspiration there. There's your start right there.
Oh, I feel like I'm being pressured into content creation.
Okay,
Oh
no,
no.
I don't no
No,
pressure,
not
but
not like
it's
that. I'm joking, but like
yeah, this is something you've expressed interest
I
in,
have
like
ex-
especially when
I
you
am
attended
interested.
that.
I find it very like the idea of it intriguing. Like I
Yeah,
like talking about it. I like
Yeah,
and just
yeah.
more content
Because
on
I'm
there.
just because I'm just giving you like a whole bunch of ideas to kind of like push you in the right direction. Because there's a lot of potential. You could be. I feel like a lot of people aren't creative enough with the concepts of like videos they do. I mean, granted, there's stuff where you can push into more experimental like stuff that's just kind of obscure. But if you market like interesting stories well, even to something like a category extension,
Hmm.
it can do really, really well.
And the important thing is like this isn't just targeted at me. This is like anyone who's interested could do something like this.
Yeah,
There's
like
so many topics, so many games. You could find
and you
something.
have an advantage because you're in Mario 1, one of like
Yeah.
the most prolific communities, because you have people like Summoning Salt and Cosmic that have made incredibly popular Mario 1 videos, and they might see it in the recommended and thinking, I really liked seeing Summoning Salt's Human Lit in Mario Bros. I really liked seeing Cosmic's video about like this new trick in 2J
Oh,
or
you
about
mean
this
my trick?
hidden block. Yeah,
I
see
2-1 flag
that see
despawn was
the thing is
me.
See, the thing is, your topics are tangentially related, where people watching those content will be recommended your content because it's related, and YouTube will figure it out. Like, if they like this kind of content that's related, they will like this, and that's how you gain an audience via the algorithm.
Yeah, and
Because
I
I
know
know a
that's
lot.
true too because you know I made the video when I discovered the flag despawn in 2-1 of 2J. I made a little video. It popped up pretty big for me because I was like new discovery, and I mean I'm not clickbaiting. It's true.
Yeah, and
And then he
it
made
was
his.
just kind of was it just like a raw recording too?
Edited it very slightly. Like I had some like text on screen, like I was just doing a run until, and then I show the clips, and I
Yeah,
then like
see,
put up little things of how it was done. But then Cosmic made the flag despawn video, and my traffic went up a little higher because I think my thing of the
yeah,
discovery was recommended
yeah.
afterwards.
I also recommend looking at that and comparing your videos and see what areas you can improve upon in terms of like what retains viewers, what keeps the story engaging for them, and how do I want to present this information well. Like
Hmm.
practice using like certain visuals that explain the concept better. Because even though doing visuals can be work, you don't need to do a bunch of like fancy effects that are just kind of ostentatious and just look fancy for the sake of fancy. You want to use visuals to your advantage to explain a concept that is hard to visualize in your head and make it accessible and more digestible to an audience. Sort of
I
like
think a
how,
good example of that actually is Summoning Salt's graph that he uses now. It's just a graph, and he zooms in on it. That's all.
yeah,
But
even
it
better,
works. It conveys
yeah,
the exact point perfectly.
even better, you can look at, even though the visuals, like the diagrams, are a bit more complicated than what you would need to do, Pan and Cook 2012.
Hmm. Oh yeah, I've talked to him plenty.
Yeah, because see, the way he uses diagrams, sure, it is kind of like a little bit complex editing, but it's done in a way to where it explains a complex topic in a digestible manner. Like, think of it like
Yeah,
you're a math teacher teaching a class, and you're trying to get the topic as easy to understand so they can do well on their tests.
yeah, and Mario 64 A button stuff is like the most complicated topic there is. So
Yeah,
you
and
really
you
need.
you won't even be doing anything nearly that complicated. So you won't need to do as much heavy lifting in terms of visuals, especially since Mario 1 is a 8-bit NES game where the memory is like much more limited and it's in 2D too. That helps a lot.
I guess I'm interested then. Like, what about like oversaturation of a certain topic or game in the algorithm in YouTube space?
That is a good question because there is a genuine fear of that. I
Mm,
feel like it's hard to make, let's say, a certain Mario 64 video unless you bring like an interesting topic related to it. But at the same time, you might think the same thing with Mario 1 because everyone knows about the human limit. Everyone knows about 454, like the main any percent speedrunner, and maybe even warpless. But category extensions, that's how you breathe life into a game that you think is like like oversaturated, or certain stories that people didn't talk about, like when Cosmic was talking about how Sub 5 almost happened in 2008.
yeah, that was an interesting one. I
Yeah,
actually
because
learned a thing or
it's a
two.
story that isn't told. You can
Mm-mm.
make the best out of like a game or topic that seems oversaturated on the surface and dig into topics that no one else is talking about that will captivate said audience. Why
Mm-hmm.
else do you think that Minecraft videos still do well with from new creators in the current year, despite it being done to death? They just find new ways to present a game that has a lot of competition and saturation in it.
That makes sense then.
Yeah.
I
Now, if you, I'd like to talk about this more. I just need
Yep.
to use the bathroom real quick.
Okay. I'll entertain the people.
Okay.
Let me get rid of that. So, what is there to say? Let's see. Hmm. It's weird to come up with something on my own, because I'm more trying to learn about the whole YouTube space. So I don't have like anything to provide that I could just talk about on my own. Hmm. Sorry if this is boring. I really can't think of anything interesting to say. Yeah, I just the concepts aren't in my brain yet for this whole YouTube madness, so that's why I'm being taught. All right, you can ask a question. That's fine. Hmm. The Ratatouille run was great. Yes, chef. Um, what else did I see live? I mean, watch my run. Obviously, it was pretty goddamn good. I watched Bobby's Bloodstained run. I saw Dragon Blitz's Symphony of the Night run. Those were good. Again, Adef's Ratatouille run was great. Danger's Odyssey run was great. Um, what else did I see? I'm pretty sure Bubsy's run was like really interesting. I didn't see most of it though. The Mario Maker Relay was really fun. The Guitar Hero showcase was sick. Or Clone Hero. Um, I think that's all I saw. I know there was a like a two-player, one controller Mega Man 6 or something. I don't think I saw it, but that must have been pretty sick. Um, I did watch Pooh's runs at the end, but yeah.
All right.
Oh,
Hmm.
I was just talking about GDQ runs I saw that I liked because I couldn't think of anything interesting.
Oh yeah, I could list some that I really liked before we can get back to what we're talking about earlier. Like I think my favorite runs, like I saw like really good runs that were just absolute bangers.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic Frontiers, excellent opening pick because Sonic Frontiers, newest Sonic game, really cool tricks and visual stuff. Really loved it. I'm
Yeah.
also biased towards a lot of Zelda runs. I really liked the A Link Between Worlds speed runs. Shout out to Fash. He was literally discovered every single trick in the game
Mm-hmm.
in a really broken speed run. That was really cool. The Sonic Adventure DX speedrun where they did all the stories and they had 6 different runners do like their own character's respective story and that
Yeah, that was
really cool
cool.
concept executed very well. Then you had like cool stuff. Your run definitely was one of the highlights of the whole marathon.
Yes.
Not getting hit a single time, doing all like a lot of big tricks with one hand. Flagpole Glitch on 4-1 just on the fly.
I, uh,
And
I
then
still
you
can't
got
believe it.
blind and then you got blindfolded Breath of the
Mm-hmm.
Wild as well.
That was huge.
Hmm. That
Yeah,
was probably one of the coolest runs. I also really liked personally the Pokemon Coliseum race.
that was like four
There was also
hours
some good
though.
ones, like you had some meme runs like Ratatouille.
Oh hey, hell yeah, Ratatouille. Yes, chef. That was
Yeah.
great. I love
Another
that.
one that was at a graveyard shift that I think people didn't that doesn't get enough love. Uh Neopets on the PS2. I
Ah.
saw Jaxler like practice it in the practice room, and it looked so hilarious because we're talking about out of bounds glitches easier than DK64, as well as like some really hilariously bad bosses.
Oh yeah, wasn't Pepsi Man in this year
Oh
too?
yeah, Pepsi Man was there too, and Pepsi Man's been in a couple GDQs before, and it's just so funny seeing like so even though it's like an auto runner, there's like some really interesting speed tech, and of
Mhm.
course like the cutscenes with the guy drinking the Pepsi, going like Pepsi for TV game or
Pepsi for
Pepsi for
TV
pizza.
game.
Yeah, speaking in English with Japanese subtitles and whatnot to play like a stereotypical American drinking Pepsi. It's so funny.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The only other one I didn't mention yet was I did see Gauntlet for
Oh
NES.
yeah.
That was a crazy
Mm,
mess of a game.
yeah. Man, there's so many runs that I need to watch when I got a chance. I missed out on quite a bit, like
Honestly,
during
this
the
schedule was stacked. There was like so many run. I think it's the most time I've spent in the stream room out of any GDQ I've been
Oh
to.
yeah. I was there for all of Majora's Mask Randomizer. Spike always has. Spike is like one of the most charismatic people at a GDQ. Explains things very well. Really good with funny jokes. Really good at getting the crowd interaction and whatnot. And does a really good job at explaining every single game that he plays or commentates.
Yeah,
No
he's kind of the
exception.
goat.
Because I think Spike has that same mentality of explaining a topic he really cares about for any game that he commentates or runs, similar to how a YouTuber would for a game that they're really passionate about in terms of speedrunning. Like, I'm just saying, Spike Vegeta would be an amazing speedrun YouTuber if he ever did like the kind of content that he would do for GDQ. Although I don't think that's his cup of tea personally.
Yeah, maybe not. Um,
Yeah.
you have any other like GDQ highlights not from this one?
Oh, not
That
from 2023?
yeah, just anything you can think of.
Oh, absolutely yes. I
Okay.
think a lot of the races are very good, such as SGDQ 2015, where we had Simply, Puncation, and Cheese do a 120-star race,
Mm-hmm.
and seeing their run back for AGDQ 2016, those are like some really good races. Mario Sunshine four-way race at AGDQ 2017 was also like really, really good. And then you've got some really interesting runs that got showcased. I think one of the more interesting ones that happened was when are you familiar with Deltarune?
Yeah.
Okay, Deltarune Chapter 2 run from AGDQ 2022. So Chapter 2 is new, and the main route gets in with a 1 hour estimate. And then literally a couple days beforehand, a major glitch is discovered to like skip from the main like cyber world area where they're selling the bagels to like Queen's Mansion, and that cut like the whole entire run in half for both like the normal route for Chapter 2 and the Snowgrave route. So then the showcase just impromptu becomes a dual run of both the normal route and the Snowgrave route, using like incredibly like broken glitches that were discovered days beforehand. I don't know how GDQ just accommodated that, but it worked wonders even for a remote run. There's also the Mario Galaxy 2 race that happened earlier here where
Jake
Jay
got the world record.
got the world record.
That's
Not sure if he, I'm
crazy.
not sure if he'd be, I think many people say, "Oh, it's a remote run. He could do it easier." I'm pretty sure he could do it in person too if it was an
Yeah,
in-person four-way
I
race.
don't think it
Jay
mattered.
is absolutely cracked at the
Hmm.
game, at
That was
Galaxy runs.
insane. I was on the edge of my seat that whole race.
Yeah, I think other GDQ, obviously, other GDQ highlights are definitely whenever they have awful games. I feel like
The
some of the
awful
most
block. Hell yeah.
awful block is always entertaining.
Hmm.
There's Arabian Nights from that one GDQ that was hilarious. Not sure if you've seen that.
No.
Uh, Ricky. Well, I'm not sure if it was Ricky or Punchy that ran a dog's life. That was funny
Okay.
on the PS2. You
Mm-hmm.
got to check out this run.
Mm-hmm.
The game with the worst frames per second I've ever seen. Virtual highlight on the Sega
Ah,
Saturn.
did Oth do that?
I'm not sure if Author did that or someone else, but oh yeah, Author Blues does a lot of funny
Yeah, I
awful
know he
block
does like
runs.
all the shit games, so I just assumed. I think I saw him play it once, but it's like that you like tilt the screen, the trees are like obviously 2D, your character's 2D, and it's like at 2 frames per second moving or
Oh yeah,
something.
it moves like a PowerPoint, and the graphics are
it's
awful.
it's so funny.
It's just so funny seeing like all that big news. You could tell he's struggling with the controls too.
Hmm.
Yeah, there's just so many GDQ runs I could even mention. I'm even having a hard time thinking of all of them at the top of my head. I think another one I think in recent times that was very good was obviously whenever Super Metroid's shown, it's always a treat. I think another like cool runs that they showed are some of the longer ones too.
Hmm.
Like I always really like whenever they show Final Fantasy VII.
Hmm.
but also I'm also a fan of that game.
Yeah, I'm not an RPG guy, so
Yeah.
and those are always like
But,
8-hour
but I know
runs.
that you're a GTA guy, and whenever KZ Fruit does a Vice City
Those
run
are
at
fun.
GQ,
Those are fun.
even to this day, I don't understand all the glitches, but it's just such a spectacle to watch a Vice City run in particular.
Yeah,
Because
I've got
KZ
no
Fruit,
idea what's going on.
because KZ has like the best commentary with that, and he's so
Hmm.
funny.
Oh yeah,
Also, also on that same vein, Tomato Anus doing the Fallout
I
anthology in
loved
HQ
that run.
2020.
I loved it.
What also blew my mind was when he had the visual diorama of describing the glitch with
Yeah.
those cups in the cardboard. I had never seen anyone do that for GDQ and never have since then. And that kind of inspires me. Like, if I get a good enough time in this one category in Ocarina of Time, like no wrong warp,
Hmm.
I'm tempted whenever I bring up RBA or reverse ball adventure, I want to have the like people on the couch hold up diagrams so I can explain how the like trick works and like use Velcro like signs with like item stuff that we put on there
Hmm.
to like explain how the glitch works and whatnot.
Yeah.
Like that kind of visual diorama stuff is something that I would love to see more at GDQ showcases. That's what makes run stand out incredibly well, other than the fact that Bethesda games are always super broken and fun to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, there's so many good ones. I need to
Yeah,
check all of those out. I mean, I've seen the Fallout
yeah,
one though. That was
yeah.
just
I also
funny.
really love anytime there's like a Soulsborne game on, every time like Skyrim is shown.
Mm. But again, that's just the whole Bethesda bullshit. So
Yeah, but that's bullshit. And also like From Software Clutch, because those games are
yeah,
hard.
and Souls, that's different. But yeah, if you're
Yeah,
talking
like the
Skyrim
Elden
is
Ring.
what I meant.
Because, dude, all like Sunday, I was almost in there like a lot. If it wasn't for like the people just wanting to like party on the last night, I would have
Hmm.
been on there like Sunday night or no, Saturday night way more because they had Elden Ring, Mario Maker 2, and then they held a blindfolded Breath of the Wild hostage for an hour.
Oh yeah, they did do that.
Yeah, I know there's been like a lot of hot button like topic on that recently with them stalling.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people don't understand. Like, there's a bit of a nuanced situation because they set a pretty lofty goal, like $2 million for it,
Yeah.
but they couldn't just like make the incentive go to waste because one, they were already set up for the run and
Hmm.
Bubsy was practicing, and two, Bubsy flew all the way from Germany for it.
Greetings from Germany.
Greetings from Germany, indeed. And I'm glad it got met in the end.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like when it comes to the last game, uh, when it comes to the last game
Hmm.
bonus, like rap bonus game specifically at
Yeah.
a GDQ, if they want to like avoid this kind of situation in the future, they should probably take notes from AGQ. No, not AGQ. SGDQ 2016. That run, the scheduled finale with no strings attached was Super Mario RPG by Lack Attack, a 3-hour run.
Hell yeah.
And then if the incentive got met, the last run after that, a bonus run, mind you, was a Mario 64 70-star race between Punkation, Cheese, Simply, and Binny.
Mm.
And the
That's a big
incentive
one.
got met during Mario RPG. And
Okay.
then 70-star was the finale for the event as a result. So what I'm trying to say here is I feel like it would benefit GDQ more to get those donations in
Hmm.
and meet the incentives without having to stall if they make the final bonus game of the event the very last one.
Yeah. Like it's hard to be mad about them stalling because it's for charity. Like you can't be mad at that, but
Yeah,
I feel like
and
there are better ways to
there was
stall.
eventually some genuine hype in the room.
Hmm.
Although I saw like a bunch of people just playing Zelda on their Switch in the
Just
backside.
playing Tears of the Kingdom on their Switch, waiting for two
Yeah, that's
million to
what a lot
drop.
of people were doing. I
Yeah.
didn't really do that this like that week just because I wanted to actually like spend time with people.
Hmm.
And even though it was tempted, like a week off of work, I could play Zelda. No, I didn't fly out to Minnesota just to do that.
Yeah. I brought my Switch. I didn't play it once, so
Mhm.
that's how GDQ works. But yeah, so many great runs just over the years, and
Yeah,
this recent schedule was just cracked. So
it was just stacked, and I feel like this event isn't getting enough credit because people are choosing to complain rather than to celebrate.
yeah,
But
I'm really
it's
upset
kind of
about
a shame
that.
because a good first GDQ for me to go to because
Hmm.
not only did they have a super stacked schedule, but the venue was just absolutely amazing.
It was a
And
great venue.
even GDQ veterans were either saying like it was the best GDQ event they've been to, or at least in the top 3.
Yeah, I think it might have been the best for me just because it
Yeah,
I've been to
like
so many, but it was like the first time I like got out of my comfort zone and actually like tried to do things.
yeah, even though like sometimes like the mask would kind of like make my nose like it caused like this layer of dry skin right here that was
Yeah.
starting to peel off in the middle of the week. Even with that all like the mask sometimes feeling like kind of weird on my ears and stuff.
Hmm.
It was overall like the best experience, one of the best experiences of my life, and one of the best trips I've ever been on. And
Yeah,
I've
and that
been
was
to,
your
and I've been
first.
on I've been on family vacations to places like London, Paris, the Bahamas.
Mm.
So that really speaks volumes to how much GDQ meant to me and
Yeah.
means to me to this day. Because
Yeah.
it wasn't like a grand spectacle vacation in terms of like touristy and going to like a bunch of like monuments and museums and whatnot.
Yeah.
But it was just for the people and connecting with a community in person that I've never have in a way beforehand.
Hmm. Yeah, like going to a GDQ for the first time is always the best.
Yeah,
I mean, when I went to the first time, that got me to like switch to a console instead of playing an emulator. Got me like really into everything more than I ever would have. So big
abs-
recommendations.
absolutely. And I think after I was already committed to go in SGDQ 2023 after missing out on last year's, which apparently wasn't as good
It
as
wasn't that great.
because I heard like it wasn't just because the social distancing was like very strict and whatnot. It was also because of my work schedule at the
Yeah,
time.
distancing was really strict. Not a lot of people were there.
Not a lot of people were actually at the event and in the event spaces, and people hung out like outside the venue
The
and in the
arcade was
rooms a lot more.
awful. Really wasn't even one.
Yeah, because
Like,
I
yeah,
was kind of
no
worried
no
that it would be
panels,
kind of
no board
similar to what
games.
many people were saying, but this year it just felt like a normal GDQ.
Yeah, normal GDQ with masks,
Yeah, and it didn't
uh,
really affect
which is
anything. Sure,
yeah,
I don't
was
think I saw any
perfect.
big. I didn't see any meme game races like they did in the past,
Hmm. Yeah,
but at the same time, it was still like really good. They had the Pringle setup from
of course
SGQ
they always
28.
do. They always do. Never not. Well, I don't think it was there last year. Maybe,
Probably not last year if I were to bet on it.
but I definitely remember it like every time. It's always there. But yeah,
Yeah.
one thing they didn't have last year was panels, and but this year they
Yeah,
had panels. I
yeah,
You might know a
panels.
thing or two about that.
Yeah, panels were a thing that they did in GDQ like up to 2020, and they're always like a fun side thing. They're never streamed, but they're recorded, and it was always kind of fun to look back on, even if they didn't really get that much views
Hmm.
on like the GDQ YouTube. But it's just cool that they're there.
Yeah.
But the panels are mostly for the people and attendees.
Hmm.
And when they heard that panels were coming back to the GDQ, the first GDQ, I'm thinking this is like a prime opportunity to have a content creation panel because I feel like speedrunning videos ever since the pandemic have been bigger than ever before.
Hmm.
So I went to like this speedrunning YouTuber Discord server that I'm in, and I got like a bunch of people together and we formed the panel. We made a basic PowerPoint, sent a submission to GDQ, we get accepted in, and
Hmm.
then start like preparing for it. Monday, the day before, we start preparing a bit more and doing a bit of rehearsals and whatnot.
Hmm.
And I was kind of nervous going into Tuesday, like how well it would go. I was also fearful that a lot of the seats wouldn't be filled in and would be kind of an empty room because the panel room was kind of in an awkward spot
Yeah.
if you didn't know where to look for it. And also, like, a lot of people might not go to the panels instinctively. But I was surprised that all the seats filled.
Oh yeah, it was packed.
And there were some people standing. It wasn't like a room like jam packed or anything because like the chairs were somewhat spaced out. But still seeing full seats at a GDQ like that
I got
in a
the front row
sizable room.
seat.
Yeah, you were there.
Oh yeah. Oh, I loved the panel. I found it very interesting, and everyone else there, I'm sure, did. So,
Hmm.
I mean, you got there were some questions people got up for, so
Yeah, and I was
people
always
had.
eager to ask. If there's one regret that I have from the panel is that there wasn't enough questions. I wanted to like get like a
Yeah,
bunch more.
dive in. But guys did like talk for a lot longer than was
Yeah,
scheduled,
we
so
because
you had a
I was
lot to
kind of
talk
worried
about.
because we did talk longer than we originally planned, but they just let us roll with it because we were doing such a good job.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited to see the recording back on YouTube.
Oh man, that's the thing that kind of hurts because I'm seeing the GDQ like YouTube right now and they're really slow. They haven't finished uploading the runs yet, because I think what happened was one of the runs that was after San Andreas had the person was doing a remote run and they forgot to turn off like Steam notifications, and they were getting a bunch of offensive friend requests.
Ooh,
And
damn.
I think they're taking the time to like edit that video, because they always like to upload the videos in sequential order of when the runs happen.
Yeah, and I guess they fell behind, and then everyone had to travel home, so that
Yeah,
put a
so
damper
there's
in things. Okay,
so
that makes a lot
they're
more sense.
the panel's probably not going to be uploaded for maybe another month at this rate.
I doubt it'll be that long.
Okay, it'll probably be a few weeks, but
Yeah.
it's kind of got me kind of anxious too, because I love to rewatch it to make sure, like, a few things. Like, one, how did I look?
Mhm.
Did I look like confident? Was I shaking a bunch? Was I like moving around too much? Or two, like, how good was the information presented from an audience perspective?
I thought it was good. I mean,
Mhm.
you can take my word for it as it is, but I
Oh
mean,
no,
I
I
found
know
it.
a lot of people really like the panel,
Mhm.
because I was talking to you like about how like one of the people approached me like in the audience, this Prime 2 runner and
Mhm.
randomizer streamer, Bash Prime. We had a long conversation about him, because he was talking to me about how he always wanted to get into making it but just never bit the bullet, and I was just kind of there to give him like a little bit of a push, and how
Mhm.
not just informative the panel was, but I was willing to talk to him more like afterwards,
Yeah.
which is also easy for me to do, because even though I'm not involved in Prime speedrunning communities or as familiar with the games as speed games, I'm very familiar with them as games themselves.
Mhm. Yeah. I mean, it was good. A few questions were asked, so at least you got some. I tried to ask one. I did my best. It's hard
Okay.
to. It's sometimes it's hard to like. It was funny because when the group first asked, like no one stood up, like no
Yeah,
one wanted
and
to.
I
You
kind
always
of
need
like
that
ate
one
them on. I'm like, come
person to
on, don't
like.
be shy. We want to ask questions. We
y-
don't bite.
Yeah, you always need that first person to like cycle in. I
Yeah.
almost got up, but someone else beat me
Okay.
to it.
What
But
was the question you were gonna ask?
well, I did
It,
ask
it,
it.
oh yeah, like the oversaturation.
No, I asked like the what's your least favorite part of the process and how do you like get yourself to go through
Oh
it. That
yeah,
was
and then
me.
yeah, everyone said like thought editing,
Audio
except for
editing
Dr.
was like
Plummet.
the number one.
Audio, visual, video editing, I like.
Hmm.
Audio editing is a pain in the ass, because
Hmm.
you got to make sure everything's balanced, make sure it's not too quiet, not too loud, not just like certain parts of like audio tracks, but like the whole thing.
I feel like everyone just did audio editing at the same time.
Yeah,
Just yeah, I think that's the part I'd hate the most too.
yeah. And then CC Neverender didn't have a problem with it, because he actually has a background in video production.
Mm. But yeah, good panel, would recommend whenever GDQ decides to upload it. Like I can't upload
Uh,
my speed run for a while and because it's not on GDQ's channel yet, so I'm
yeah,
suffering too
but
a little bit.
technically you could still. Uh, Man, I know Pooh Bear like uploaded his run, because you are allowed to upload your own runs.
I know, but I don't have the footage for it, and I'm not gonna like download the Twitch VOD to get it.
Because that'll just look all crusty.
Yeah, I don't like the Twitch VOD. I'd rather get it from the like YouTube well
Yeah.
edited source personally.
If you want another video idea that I think would be really cool,
Hmm.
uh you could you could make a video. I don't know how exactly you title it, but it could be framed really well, like uh the most you no, you could title this video like the craziest Mario 1 speed run just happened, or something like that.
And what? It's
And it'll
just
just
my
be
run.
no, you could, yeah, I know it's a little bit like self-indulgent, but you could talk about like how you practice beforehand, like what how like the what goes into running one hand, the challenges like leading up to it,
Hmm.
and then you go into like how much you practiced there, how you felt beforehand, like how nervous you were, and then you like do like a breakdown of the run, what was going on, and what was going on in your head,
I
and decisions
kinda
made.
did that yesterday. I did like a run watch back and like would
Mhm.
pause and explain things, and I will upload that. But
Yeah, you could do that.
it won't be edited though. It's not like a video like
Yeah,
you're talking
but I
about.
feel like if you did it post commentated with a script and like the right editing and setting, that's a hot YouTube video right there.
Yeah,
Again, I'm not like expecting you to follow through on this. This is just an idea of what I would do in your shoes.
yeah. maybe someone else can make it for me, but now I
and
was
let
thinking
them
about
take
when I
all the
get
money.
no, just give me like 50%, you know, that's fair, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, my idea was to just when I get the footage of my run to like put in like a thumbnail that I put some effort into and a title that makes sense and maybe clickbait the run into something, but just have it be the run and then link it to
Mhm.
my commentary and I could connect the two videos and maybe it would just
Yep.
take off a little
Yep.
bit. I don't need to go fit crazy, but maybe it would get a little bit more views than normal or something.
Yeah.
And
And I can give you I
I
could
thought about
definitely give
trying a
you like
short too.
yeah, I could also give you like some pointers for thumbnails because
Hmm.
GDQ thumbnails not really the greatest right now cuz they just have text and the game background is kind of covered up by this dark color
Yeah.
where you can hardly see the screenshot and they don't even mention the category. Like they won't upload it as Super Mario Bros. One-handed by
They'll
GTA's
just do like
in this time. They'll
Super Mario
just use Super
Brothers
Mario
in
Bros. In time by GTA's,
1937.
which still
Yeah.
looks impressive on the surface for Warpless, but
Yeah.
the context of the one hand is lost.
Yeah, like, oh, Mario in 1937. Okay. But no, it
Yeah.
was Warpless with
So
one
what you
hand with an FPG. What?
yeah, so what you could do is like when you upload your one-handed run, the thumbnail. Like remember what I said about like 3 focus points and whatnot that
Yeah,
you can
the rule of
you could
thirds.
you could just have like a screenshot or even take a photo yourself of
Yeah.
your hand, like one hand how you grip it during like one play or like one hand on the
Hmm.
controller that takes up like a big part of the thumbnail like this part here. And then on the other half right here, you'd have like Mario doing like a dangerous jump at a pivotal point in the run.
Hmm.
Just something that simple.
Yeah, I was
And maybe a timer up there as like the third focus point or somewhere.
something. The other idea I had was to just literally take a screenshot of like 4-1 FPG being done and just taking the screenshot of the thing, and that was the thumbnail because then you'd see like me, the one hand camera, obvious FPG, like you tell it's GDQ. Like it's super simple, but I feel like it's like, oh shit. I don't know if that works or not, but maybe the
The
title.
background of GDQ might be a bit hard because you'll see a lot of small details and whatnot.
Oh, okay. No, I get
So
what you
I
mean.
think the best way to illustrate it, you could show like either an image on like one half of the thumbnail, like this one of FPG, like in a similar like where it's clearly visible but kind of zoomed in to where
Hmm.
the audience knows what to focus on, like the dangerous part, or it could be the pipe jump in 8-4,
Oh, that part's easy.
and then on the other half you have like your one hand on the controller.
Yeah, maybe not. The wall jump's just too easy to be interesting though, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
just
think there's I
FPG.
could like do the screenshot and like zoom in on the parts that matter and get rid of all the other stuff and then edit
Yeah,
it in a way
you could
that
probably do. I think I would recommend FPG more just because it's a
Mhm.
blue background and that
Yeah.
might help better.
Yeah, like get a red arrow pointing at it and then
No,
like
you don't
pointing
even
at me.
need a red arrow.
No, I know. I'm just
You're just memeing. Oh man,
of
I'm having a
course.
hard time telling what's a joke nowadays.
Eh.
Sad.
I have trouble expressing jokes, so it works out.
This happens to me at my job too.
Just make your job YouTube content soon, then it'll be fine, right?
Easier said than done, my
I
friend.
know.
Easier said than done, but I'll get there soon. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
need to I just need to get back on it like as soon as I can. Like probably tomorrow night when I get back, I'm just gonna like finish adjusting the script. And since I'm probably gonna be working a lot of overtime, um I'm gonna be outsourcing the editing just because I have the capabilities of doing so. I wouldn't
Oh,
recommend
cool.
this, especially when starting out to do that.
Yeah.
But I'm just doing this mostly for the sake of time.
Hmm. Have you experimented with shorts at all?
I have not personally, but I know that there's a way to make them really interesting. I just haven't found personally the best way to do it.
Hmm.
I know that there's probably a good way to do like speedrunning content on shorts without it taking away from your main content.
Yeah.
I feel like the best way that I've seen someone use shorts in that kind of speedrun explain sphere that doesn't take away from the main channel uploads is what Pan and Coke's doing recently, because Pan and Coke's been doing a lot of YouTube shorts.
Yeah, I've been enjoying those.
Yeah, like I think I would approach if I were to make YouTube shorts an experimental way, I would do it in the same way that Pan and Coke does shorts.
I was thinking, at least for my channel where I upload my speedruns, so not like the content creation channel I have in case I ever do that, but to like make a short if there's like if I ever get a record or something, or like I'll use the example of the GDQ run I just have, just like do a short edited so you can see everything on the vertical screen of
No,
the
do the
FPG.
short of like the flagpole
Yeah,
glitch, and maybe
exactly.
even
And then like link the full video like in the pinned comment or something, so that way
yeah, that
like
could
that.
work.
Okay.
Yeah, that could work for
Hmm.
sure. You don't even have to do that much editing, if
Yeah.
editing at all, because I think it's one the shorts are definitely show don't tell,
Hmm.
especially. I mean, that's the case for most writing and YouTube in general, but show don't tell especially for shorts.
Because it's so short. It's like
I mean,
super
I mean,
short
you can
form
tell
and
like how Panicoic explains certain technical details, like growing a fly guy so large that it crashes on Tall
mhm.
Tall Mountain. Even though he's like info dumping like a lot of facts and whatnot, he's mostly showing.
Well, he's also got the video where you just see a scuttlebug go in a circle while clown music plays for
Yeah,
half a minute. So
yeah. See, that's an explanation of like show don't tell right there,
hmm
perfectly.
yeah, I mean that's all cool. So there's just a
Mhm.
lot of factors to think about in the whole YouTube space. I just
Yeah.
find it all really interesting. So
Although I would personally recommend making long form content primarily with shorts
hmm
as a supplementary,
yeah,
because one trap that a lot of people come across in, especially with channels that blow up, is that people will watch them mainly for shorts, but not their regular long form content.
yeah,
While there's a way to balance all of them. Like I know Ludwig does it pretty well, Alpharad's doing it pretty well now, but I think it's probably because they already established their audience through their long form content. And I
yeah.
think it's really hard for someone to break into long form content if they become popular via shorts.
Yeah, so you need to do long form content more or like
Yeah,
uneven with the amount
yeah.
you do
So you want to
shorts.
have your viewers have the attention span for it.
Hmm.
Because that's the problem with YouTube Shorts and stuff, is that it's perfect for people that have short attention spans. So, but it's better if you have an established audience that will watch your stuff for hours
Hmm.
and they'll just browse your shorts page.
Hmm. So I don't think we talked briefly about lowest percent, but you mainly just like showed like how popular one of the videos on there are, but you're actually
Yeah.
like a part of that group of people.
Yeah, I
So,
made 3 videos on there. I'm mostly just like a person that they freelanced for a bit. I haven't produced like a video on there for like a couple years, mostly because of how infrequently they upload. And also, I think they prefer to make their videos like in house more or
hmm.
less night when they have like a good idea. Because for a while, they were reaching out to a lot of different people, like different creators as guests. Well, Gymnast and I were featured way more than to be considered simply just guests.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean in the like channel thing where they show the people that are in there, there's only like 4 people and you're one of them.
Yeah, and it's Small Ant, Linkus, Gymnast, and I,
Hmm.
because we were like the original like 4 people on it.
Have they had like other people do videos for it?
Yeah, as guests. Like they had Average Trey do a Sunshine one. They
Oh,
had Game Boy Luke do a Pokemon Blue one. They had Limcube do one for Breath of the Wild. They had Zalu do one for Majora's Mask.
clearly I haven't been watching this channel enough.
Oh, they very rarely
Yeah, I
upload.
think that's why.
They upload once in a blue moon, and it's not made to be like a super sustainable channel in terms of like making the most money. It's just like whenever they
It's like for
have
fun.
something like really interesting to talk about. Yeah, it is mostly for fun and whatnot.
Hmm. And I'm sure it was also created like back before all the people that like started it like so that's also probably a thing.
Yeah, well, it was started in like late 2020,
Wait,
and
oh wow, I thought it was like a while
no.
longer
The
ago than
first
that.
videos were uploaded in November of 2020, and I was
Wow.
working on them actively since like October.
Huh. How about that?
Mhm.
All right, I didn't realize it wasn't around that much. It was just funny because
Yeah.
they like their first videos I remember were like popping off in my recommended feed and
Oh yeah.
everywhere.
It was also because like there was a lot of silent promotion around it at first.
Yeah, I guess so.
For like they got like 1,000 subs before the first video even uploaded.
Hmm. I guess that does help.
Because what Smollett would do is these things called ad secrets on his streams, where um he would run an ad, but subs obviously wouldn't see the ad, and he would like uh tease stuff about lowest percent during those ad secrets.
Interesting. Haven't heard of ad secrets before.
Yeah, that's just a thing that he did a lot. I'm not sure if he does it as much nowadays because I haven't been able to tune into the stream nearly as much. Well, I mean, I have a VIP in his chat.
Oh, Mr. Famous.
Yeah.
Mm. Um,
I'm just a guy.
we're all just young boys on Twitch, as Darbian once said.
That's one way of putting it.
It's the only way I put it.
Hmm. Yeah. It's just
Yeah,
kind of weird to think of myself as having a decently sized audience on YouTube because still am pretty small in the grand scheme of things,
yeah.
and I rarely upload. I don't, even though I'd like to get in more content, like doing it more often, I don't feel like a content creator most of the time. I just feel like a regular guy living a regular life that like makes videos whenever I have like time or whenever I'm not like a lazy like piece of shit, you know?
I feel like that's most people though too. Like
Yeah.
unless you're
I've
like
been
super
yeah.
huge, but
But after I made that video before GDQ, like the learning OT in 1 week, and especially after GDQ, I'm just like super motivated to work on it whenever I have the time.
mhm,
Like even when I got home this afternoon, because I actually got off at a reasonable hour today, I revised the bottle script a little bit. And I'm
mm,
gonna work on it more tomorrow. And hopefully I'll have the voiceover recorded by the weekend.
mhm.
And then I'll send it off to an editor who I still need to contact, but I only feel like I should probably contact them once I have like the script finalized,
Mhm.
just so I don't leave them hanging, you know?
Yeah. Another thing about being like whole big YouTube people, one thing like again, like everyone's just a person. I stopped being starstruck about meeting people. I just see them all as people now. I remember like back when I was super new, like you'd see someone and be like, "Oh my god, that's them. Oh my god, oh my god." I'm not like that anymore.
Yeah, I can't really say like that. Even when like Small Ant first reached out to me when I had like when my BLJ video was starting to pop off
Mhm.
in DMs like back in like September October of 2020. I mean, I was a little bit starstruck, but then once I actually talked to him, it just was like a regular conversation.
Yeah.
It was like he was talking on stream, but directly to me. But it wasn't like it was. I mean, I was definitely a little bit starstruck, but very quickly it just became a normal conversation.
Mhm. Yeah, it's just so easy to get starstruck, but you just gotta remember that people are people, and it's like
Yeah.
they're not gonna turn you away. Like that's especially at like GDQs. I remember back then I would like not talk to people because I'm like, oh, they're probably too busy. But just don't. They're there to talk to people. If
And
they're
even then,
busy, they'll let you know nicely.
yeah,
Like, don't worry about
yeah.
it.
And even then, a speedrun celebrity isn't really that like
Much of a
famous
celebrity.
where they'll have a horde of fans. Like
Yeah.
there's a big difference between being speedrun famous at GDQ and being XQC at TwitchCon.
There's a significant difference.
Yeah, like you don't have to get security because a bunch of people are following you wherever you go.
Yeah, that's gotta
See,
be
yeah,
interesting.
like I eventually I do want to be big in terms of like content,
Hmm.
but I think I don't want to become that big to where I would have like like too many stalkers or whatnot. Like I don't know what everyone goes through, but I feel like whenever you build up your personal brand a lot and you have like a presence everywhere, that does give that like and you have like millions of followers that can increase that risk a bit,
Yeah.
and you have to take like some extra measures for it. But even then, there's people like Easy Speezy that have like 2 million subs that have like a really low profile on other social media other than YouTube, and
Hmm.
I don't think they've had to deal with too much problems.
Yeah. I assume you want to be in a position where you can do content creation full time. That way you can
Absolutely.
like put all of your effort into it and enjoy it. But you don't care about like being famous or money or whatever. You
I
just
mean,
want to be
I
able to
mean,
do
I
that.
obviously I would care about money because I would want to make sure that I am financially
Well, I
stable.
mean money into a point where you can just do it full time and not have to stress about it. I mean, like, so you can put all of your effort into what you
Oh
like
yeah,
doing, which is
absolutely, and
that.
reinvest it.
That's how I
But at
feel.
the same time, I would also want to become like really huge though, because I know that there's a lot of money to be made, and I know
Okay.
that unlike a traditional, well, the reason why is because a traditional career path,
Yeah.
you are working in that profession for like decades in order to, so you have like enough money to retire.
Yeah.
But I want to make sure that I have like quite a bit saved up to where I could like either like when I fall off or when I end content creation on my own terms, I'll
Yeah.
have enough for like either my next venture, maybe to retire, but I don't see myself retiring early because I think retiring even when you have a lot of money when you're really young is a really bad idea because you kind of lose your purpose in life. So you
Yeah.
can use that opportunity to just start like a completely different venture.
hmm Yeah, that makes sense. Uh, I mean, it's definitely a hard goal, but it
Yeah,
seems
but
like,
I know it can be done with like good work ethic
hmm
and like a good workflow because I know that for a fact that successful YouTubers, even ones under 1 million subs,
yeah,
they make too much money
yeah,
almost.
they make too much.
Like I can't really I can't really speak for certain creators like Salt.
hmm
I feel like Summoning Salt doesn't make enough with how big his audience is.
I I know, like for a while, it must not have been that much because he wasn't doing sponsorships or anything, but now he is. So I have to imagine he's
Oh
mm,
yeah, he's raking in more dough because you
mm,
got YouTube whenever he uploads pops off. You got the Patreon. The Patreon support has been solid for a while, and
hmm
then you add in sponsorships to the mix. Salt's eating good every single month,
W, yeah,
even though when he doesn't upload, that's easily like over. I don't want to ask or be too personal and whatnot, but
yeah,
I bet that he's making at least 5 figures a month just by
goddamn,
doing that.
goddamn.
Just with all the just with all the Patreon support and stuff. I just know how things work.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Uh, and I feel like that it's definitely an interesting career path to think about it, at least in terms of
Yeah.
that.
But I feel like what's a weakness for a lot of people in that career path is a lot of people develop their egos too much.
Mm,
I'll admit it, I had a little bit of an ego when I first started blowing up on YouTube but I even still I'd like to think I kept myself in check, not like making sure that I wasn't like people were like beneath me or I was so much better than anyone that I could just do anything or act like a jackass or anything. No. I think what's important is like staying grounded in reality
mm,
because I think what a lot of people sometimes forget to do, especially like big streamers that blow up super quickly and don't have a lot of life experience, is sometimes they don't treat it like a profession, it feels like.
hmm
Because granted, when you're entertainment, you don't have to act like a strict, like hard ass professional all the time.
yeah,
Because that's just no fun.
no.
But at the same time, and the business side of things, when you're like not in front of a camera or whatnot, you have to make sure that you have like a good professional conduct. You treat people with respect. You don't do anything like heinous that would like jeopardize your career or your reputation in a sense. You you treat it almost like a serious career, and you have like a code of ethics that you stick by.
hmm All right, I have a loaded question, but I'm curious. Do you
Go ahead.
think anyone can like make a living doing content creation if they try, as someone who's kind of doing it?
I know it's a loaded question because you say try, and what people's definition in their head of try
Okay, maybe I
is
should rephrase it
very
as like if they, if they try it, but they like put in the effort to try. Like they're not just,
yeah.
I'll try it. Like they're
I mean,
trying it.
you can put in a lot of effort,
Yeah.
but sometimes effort can be misplaced. So
Yeah,
yes, I
okay.
believe any
Oh no. Oh, am I off? I'm off. Crap. Uh, oh, am I gone completely?
okay,
Oh, no,
just let
you
me know
are.
when okay, there I am. Okay, starting from the top.
Yeah,
I feel
please.
like anyone can like succeed as long as they understand why themselves they click on certain YouTube videos and get an understanding of how YouTube works, how to make a like information present to an audience, and obviously the effort can easily be put in developing a skill because doing stuff like editing, writing, voiceover, and stuff, that's a skill anyone can develop over time. Those are
Mm-hmm.
objective skills that anyone can prove upon. The things that are out of their control, seemingly, is another skill set entirely.
Mm-hmm.
And that has a little bit more of a learning curve than just traditionally learning like an editing skill or a voiceover skill or a writing skill.
Mm-hmm.
It's like trying to learn like a bunch of skills at once sometimes.
Yeah. Okay.
Sometimes you got to play in your strengths, but I feel like anyone driven enough and with good knowledge
Mm-hmm.
can do it. They just have to understand where to put that effort in.
Okay. I
Because
asked because I know so many people, like a lot of my friends now. I like knew before they became like really big content creators, but now they all keep doing it. And they're all like doing it full time, and I'm just like, I'm seeing all these people around me do it, but what are they doing? Like, it's just interesting to think about as like someone
oh,
who
I could
hasn't.
tell you, I could tell you what they're doing.
Mm,
They they spend a lot of time like writing. They probably spent a lot of time watching other people's content to understand what successful content looks like and how to market it.
mm-hmm,
And they apply that knowledge and do it themselves. Like I know Waifu brought up an excellent example during the panel. This YouTuber also inspired me. The reason why I actually got my start, Devin Nash.
mm. I don't know who
He
that
made a
is.
bunch of he made a bunch of videos explaining like and also interviews of like how certain creators got to where they were, like the work they put in and what makes good content. Even recent videos, not in 2020, when he was like really popping off with this advice. I think one of his best ones recently was why no one watches your content,
Mm-hmm,
which is ironically a way to understand how to get people to watch your content and stand out from the crowd.
mm-hmm. All right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like some people watch those success videos, but I tend to like avoid talking about like those YouTube guide videos because a lot of them are made by people that have no credibility
Yeah.
whatsoever. So don't trust those at all. You just got to understand why you watch the videos, like speed, or in your case, speedrunning videos. Why do you watch the videos that you watch? What draws you to them, and what elements you can apply to make your videos just like that.
Yeah. That relates to like I know Cosmic started content creation mainly because there was a GSA event at the Smash Summit place, like in
Mhm.
2019 or something.
Yep,
And
GSA Legends. I'm
yeah,
like
okay.
one of the few people that actually watch it. I hope that it would be cool to have like an event like that for charity, almost like the smaller GDQs.
Yeah, I mean they kind of do that
But
with
I
Pace,
digress.
but it's not the same thing.
Yeah, but I
But
digress. It's probably because he talked with other creators like Small Ant there, probably.
exactly my point was he roomed with Small Ant, and they talked about he like showed
Hmm.
him like, you know, YouTube is the money maker, not Twitch. Like if you want to be successful, you have to YouTube. So he's like, all right,
Yeah,
and I
and
mean,
especially
look at
with
that.
yeah.
So it worked.
I mean, it's kind of ironic because we're streaming on Twitch right
I mean, it's
now.
uploaded to YouTube afterwards.
Yeah, it's
These are
yeah,
doing
same.
numbers for my
Most
watch
people
hours.
there's like there's a handful of people here right now, but like YouTube is like an archive where anyone can discover it because Twitch is like a good
Hmm.
interface for live content. It has way better moderation tools and ways for creators to earn revenue right away than YouTube. YouTube takes a little bit more effort to get like the partnership program
Hmm.
versus getting an affiliate. Well, no, affiliate's easy. Just getting like people to sub to you on Twitch.
Hmm. Yeah. Again, my point
There's
was
more
these.
there's less hoops to jump through for monetization options on Twitch.
Yeah, the point I was making was like Twitch. I stream these. I'll get like some viewers. It doesn't
Yeah,
do too well, and that's fine. I'm not worried about it.
yeah,
But
but
when I
the thing
upload
about
these on YouTube,
yeah.
the watch hours are just going. Like it's really helping.
Oh yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
think the thing that makes also Twitch much more viable is it's a platform not known for people watching VOD content or videos uploaded there.
Hmm.
There's the option, but no one does it because it's primarily a live stream website,
You're there to
meaning
see
that
it live.
your
Yeah.
growth your growth is based on like how much you're online for.
Hmm.
And how much you're online for doesn't necessarily translate to more viewers all the time or new people coming in. But YouTube, any video can pop off.
Hmm.
And not to mention, it feels more evergreen in the sense of what you upload.
Yeah.
Because sure,
Yeah.
there's YouTube live streams that I think have like a lot of potential to overtake Twitch in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Like shoot, even with these controversial policy things happening recently over the past 2 days, it just feels like YouTube. I'm debating like whether I should even like if when I get back into streaming, whether I should even use Twitch at all or just stick to streaming on YouTube.
Yeah, we're definitely in a gray area right now where it's not sure
Yeah,
what's going
it's
on, and
just
it's
kind of weird
very.
because part of me just wants to stick to Twitch because that's where a lot of my friends are. That's
Mm-hmm.
where I've like the speedrun community just feels like rooted and established, and they have a much better chat culture, just better chat
Mm-hmm.
moderation, a lot more tools.
But also,
At the same
like,
time, I can't ignore the flaws. Like
yeah,
the ads are more intrusive. The
yeah,
It's much harder for discoverability. There's hardly any
mm-hmm.
discoverability without external platforms on
Yeah, you
Twitch. Not
cannot
to mention,
without
not to mention
external.
the horrendous like sub split compared
Oh my
to
god.
other platforms. Like not even the top creators get like the 70/30 split on Twitch anymore, which was only reserved for people like the top dogs. But 70/30, I think, is the case for YouTube like memberships right now. And
Mm-hmm.
then even higher on Patreon where it's like 90/10.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the more and more I think about it, even though Twitch is like established itself as like a cultural like zeitgeist for like live streaming, I feel like YouTube Live really is the future for this kind of stuff, especially as like Twitch makes very unpopular changes to the platform.
Yeah, if Twitch goes on the path it's going and YouTube
Yeah, and not to mention
continues to
YouTube.
improve.
YouTube wasn't profitable for a long time, but recently has turned profit over the past couple years.
Mm,
While Twitch is questionable whether it's ever been profitable for Amazon
I
or
don't think
whether
it
it's
ever
only
has been.
operating because of Amazon.
I mean, let alone you could argue like the whole Twitch Prime thing. I mean, that is cutting
Oh,
deep.
if they take away Twitch Prime, it's over.
Yeah, it's and they know it, and that's why they don't get rid of it. But that is taking a ton of money away from them as
Oh
well.
yeah,
So I do not think they will ever be profitable as long as that exists. But I don't think there'll be a platform if they ever take it away. So like it's just it's
man,
this
it
weird
really is.
area.
It's this weird game of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Exactly. So
Man,
yeah.
but that also like brings up an interesting focus about like speed running because I recently made a point recently just a little tweet that I made a couple days ago or when this whole controversy was breaking out thinking uh speed running every speedrunner
Hmm.
start diversifying. YouTube is the future.
Yeah, start doing stuff on YouTube. Like
Yeah, like
you cannot make it
even
as
as
a Twitch
well as like
streamer alone.
streaming and whatnot. Because
Hmm.
the thing is, if it's the platform's future is uncertain, you want to make sure you diversify your audience and grow on multiple platforms in case one of those platforms goes down,
Hmm.
and you have to so you don't have to build up from zero.
Yeah, that's also true.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's a big point too because if recent, even though I think that Twitch is going to stick around for a long time,
Hmm.
there's also a good chance that Amazon could just pull the plug in a few
They could do
years.
it at any point.
They
And
could do it at any point. And I know for a fact YouTube will not do that, or Google will not do
yeah.
that with YouTube because YouTube is now profitable. And even if it wasn't profitable, Google has like such a big footprint over video sharing that that itself is like very valuable.
Yeah.
But it's
But
now that and profitable now.
yeah, and I feel like Twitch with how like horrible they are at like expressing new changes and stuff to people. They could just pull the
They
plug
don't even
and you'd
talk to
never
their
know.
ambassadors. That's
Yeah.
another shocking thing. There's such a large disconnect from the so-called top creators and ambassadors on that platform.
Hmm.
Meanwhile, whenever they do like changes on YouTube, they reach out to like some of the biggest creators on the platform and have like discussions with them, like a round table.
Yeah, I know a
I know
couple
Twitch does
Twitch
that sometimes.
ambassadors. They don't know what's
I know
going on at all.
they sometimes do like round tables on Twitch, but never
Yeah.
when it actually matters.
No. Yeah, it's very weird. Like
Yeah,
it's
it's
questionable
just
how the
like
future will
it
be
must be
for.
like really frustrating.
Mhm. Yeah, it's
And
just
even when you
interesting
do
to talk
cool stuff,
about.
and even when you do cool stuff, the platform doesn't really give you much of a special treatment,
No.
or rather, like much of things. Which is why I like it was so easy for Ludwig to eventually move to YouTube because
Yeah.
he felt like Twitch didn't like give him the respect he felt like he deserved. for
Yeah,
all that he did for them.
yeah. Didn't they just like YouTube begged to have him and Twitch said he was gonna go to YouTube and they were
Yeah,
like, okay, bye.
yeah, he was originally going to like accept a Twitch contract, but then YouTube counter offered, and then he mentioned it to Twitch because it was like more money for less hours, and then Twitch was like, "Well, we wish you the best." It's
Yeah,
like very
Twitch is
professional,
not.
ice cold.
It's just so weird how dominant they were, like in speedrun terms especially. Twitch was so dominant with speedrunning. Like that's how
Yeah,
people got
the
popular,
reason
and it's
why
so
was
different now.
speedrunning blew up like before Amazon acquired it, because Amazon acquired Twitch in the spring of 2014. And
Hmm.
even after the Amazon acquisition, Twitch and everything felt super grassroots. Like they still supported the hell out of like grassroots esports,
Hmm.
competitive gaming, certain communities, and especially speedrunning.
Hmm.
Like even after the Amazon acquisition, and especially beforehand, speedrunning was so integral to Twitch. It made Twitch in a lot of ways.
Hmm.
So Twitch owes a lot of its existence to speedrunning. So it's like really not surprising how ingrained in the culture it is.
Hmm.
But I feel like since that long day, those Twitch days are long gone.
Yeah.
Like I feel like that ship has sailed in terms of like how speedrunning was integral to the platform nowadays. And
Hmm.
now that Twitch feels so impersonal more than ever before, I feel like this culture of speedrunning is going to shift away from Twitch to YouTube, not just in terms of like curated video content and VODs,
Hmm.
but also live streaming eventually as well. Even if like the interface, like the chat interface and moderation interface isn't quite there yet for YouTube,
Hmm.
there's a lot of third-party tools that assist with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm curious what the future holds here because it's just changed so much, even in the short time I've been around in comparison to a lot of other people I know. It's
Yeah,
just
it's
kind of scary to think about, but also it's important to talk about. So,
mhm. Yeah.
well, I
Mhm.
think that's enough of that. And it's getting a bit depressing in here.
Yeah. Because at the same time, I like to think about how exciting the future of like speedrunning content is. Because I feel like
Yeah, let's
I
go into
thought that
that.
yeah, when I started in 2020, I felt like there was clearly, you know, a big demand for speedrunning content more than ever before.
Hmm.
But the supply clearly wasn't meeting demand.
Hmm.
And I felt like I needed to jump on as soon as I could because who knows when this window of opportunity would close. So it's strange to me that 3 years later, that window of opportunity hasn't closed at all. As a
Yeah,
matter of fact, I feel like it's bigger than it's ever been before.
yeah, and it just keeps growing. Like
Yeah, there's
the
you
more
could never
people,
have
the more creators keeps rising, but the amount of demand, people that are interested is growing like kind of with it.
yeah,
So there's still
because
that.
because I know that there's certain creators that are just getting their like foot wet, like other runs who does like those interesting videos about the absurdity speed running,
Mhm.
like the video of like Mario pushing up the boulder. He's also made like a bunch of other like interesting videos lately. Like he just uploaded one about like how pausing breaks certain speed runs.
Mhm.
Really interesting abstract concepts that are clearly paying off. Is really showing that there's just so much left to tell that I think that speedrunning content on YouTube is here to stay for a long, long time. And
Mhm.
I mean a long time.
Yeah. I mean, it's already been around forever, so the fact that it's still like you can tell it's still going to be there for so long. I mean, just speaks to how important of like a subject matter it is on the
Yeah.
internet. Even though you
It's
wouldn't think
also
about it
yeah,
because it's also not that big in comparison to a lot of
yeah.
other subjects.
It's also a great way of archiving stories that could very well be lost to time because YouTube's a great place to tell these stories. Because even though a lot of people have to do a lot of pain in the ass research, scouring old forums, or
Mhm.
even worse, Discord servers. Oh my god, the fact that a lot of information is now stored in just Discord servers is a travesty in itself. Because at least with certain message boards and like forums, even if they're inactive, you could probably like 99% of the time just scroll back on like an old forum and find like people talking about strats or old YouTube videos and stuff.
Mhm.
So and even then, it might not be up forever. So making like a video in a sense kind of immortalizes that.
Yeah, I know there are videos out there of like someone that ended up deleting their entire speedrun history, but it's only survived because a video was made that talked about them. I'm not
Oh
going to go
yeah,
into like
that
specific
happened. That
details.
happened with Fade Vanity in New Super Mario Bros. Wii World
Okay.
Record. progression. That's one example I can think of.
Yeah, I can think of a few. I wasn't gonna like talk about them in detail, but
Yeah,
like
that's
I
just
that's
examples that
important
popped
for
off in the
the
top of my head.
that's important for like the history. So, and that would be lost media otherwise. So yeah, there are examples that prove that is fact, and that's good. So, whew, that was a lot of YouTube and Twitch talk. Uh,
Yeah.
let's see, what's another good topic? You don't run a ton of games, do you?
Not like currently at the moment. Like I ran like some back in the day, but it was more of like um just getting my foot wet, not really getting like too far because but at the same time that always hurt my pride, especially when I started to become a successful speedrunning YouTube channel because
Mm-hmm.
I felt like a total fraud because a lot of other top speedrun creators were at least top runners in a certain game.
Mm-hmm.
Like Summoning Salt's like good at Punch Out. The Rixer has like a lot of records in like Ratchet and Clank and Jack. Um, Maximum had like a bunch of Flash games. Pat has like a lot of top Mario World times.
Mm-hmm.
Like M Sushi had record in Celeste, Portal, Half Life, and me not really much of anything. But I feel like that pride has kind of got me like really invested in trying to get good at a game eventually. Like I'm super deep in like Ocarina of Time now, even though I haven't had time to do many runs.
Mm-hmm.
I learned like a bunch of strats for bingo and some
Let's
other
go bingo.
categories. Yeah, let's go bingo.
Yep.
So if I ever become like invest in Ocarina of Time, I might just do some main categories for fun, but I might also want to grind certain categories if I want to get into like a GDQ or something, because I know
Mm-hmm.
that given enough time, I can like climb up the leaderboards relatively fast. But that's
That's
the problem, time. That's the reason. That's also another reason why I'd want to like pursue like the content creation thing because that'll give me more time to stream and actually get top times in the games I care about.
yeah. That's interesting. I didn't think about that. Like most of the top YouTube creators I see are like good at something in just speedrunning in general.
And it's not like I'm bad at it.
No, yeah, I'm not saying. That's
I
just
just
not
feel
what
like
you've put.
I'm just not a top runner in anything.
Like almost every successful speedrun YouTuber started off as a top speedrunner.
Yeah, and that's kind of like a pipeline nowadays. Although mine was a bit different. It was more of like an enthusiast slash casual speedrunner
Mm-hmm.
that just watched a bunch of speedruns and did like casual speedruns that cared enough about the community and hobby to make my own stuff.
Yeah, that totally works too. Like you don't have to be a top
Yeah.
person to make something as long as you
Yeah.
like know the community. You can be a lurker and have never touched a
Yeah.
game in your life and still know
Yeah.
enough to do something.
As a matter of fact, being a top runner in anything is kind of like is kind of overrated in a sense because you have to put in so much time for relatively like little like reward monetarily or anything other than like
I'm a
being like
great
good at
example
doing
of that.
but at the same time, it's not completely wasted because you gain so much knowledge being
I
able to
I do have a lot of knowledge, so
community. Like you
I
have
just
way
need to
more
know a way
knowledge.
how to like put that somewhere though, and I'm
Yeah,
still trying
which
to
is
figure that
why
out.
that top runner to video pipeline like exists.
Yeah, I guess that makes
Uh,
sense. I didn't think about it that way. That does make a lot of sense. Okay.
Yeah. For me, I just picked up a lot of knowledge just by watching a lot of things. Like I feel like I have my eyes everywhere, even in places in the community you would not expect.
Yeah. I mean, it's all just so interesting. Like even things I never would have cared about. Like there's something there. I said it. I don't know when I said it. Maybe it was a recent podcast thing I did, but I said like any game has something about it that makes it interesting. You just need to like find it.
Yeah. Like shoot, even as a game as lackluster and boring as a Muck Runner at least had the
Yeah,
launches.
Amok Runner was sick. No one's heard of that fucking game until Moist Critical made it popular. That game speedrun looks fucking sick.
Yeah. Or I think what was but even then I think it's mostly just kind of like boring walking around. But if you want a sick one from the Moist Critical Challenge, Exodus from the Earth.
Oh, that was in SGDQ.
Yeah, it was. It is actually a unironically like a really cool run.
Yeah, that's cool. Like any game has just something.
Yeah, like shoot, I thought of like an idea that I want to do because I just suddenly remembered this one relatively obscure DS game from my childhood that looking back, it's just kind of okay. It's Wario Master of Disguise.
I've heard of it.
Yeah, it's not it's like kind of forgotten. It's kind of it's not like the Wario Land games at all. But I was looking up if there was a speed run for it, and there's hardly any times for it.
Hmm.
But there was like an interesting like strats that the world record used, and there was even like this one uh RTA text to speech commentated videos in Japanese, because those that's actually a genre that's somewhat popular in Japan, where they will do a commentary of a run, but they'll have like a text to speech Japanese voice to explain a run as well as strats with visuals on the side.
Hmm.
The only other time I've seen like a video like that was on Aki's channel when he got the first 14 and 16 star.
Hmm.
But yet there it was here for this forgotten Wario DS game. I'm
Hmm.
thinking it would be cool to try to get this game into AGDQ.
That's cool.
I'm not sure how good of a chance it does,
Hmm.
but if I could find something within that run that makes it like really interesting somehow,
Yeah.
maybe it has like a chance of having a really good showcase or even a good video. Who knows?
Yeah. There you go. There any other games you find interesting in that sense?
Or like games. I think there's certain games where more people run, but I feel like deserve more attention.
Hmm.
I think certain games that are really cool and broken speed runs that I think are known to some and have been showcased at GDQ, but not too much of a wider audience, are the Mario and Luigi series, specifically uh Superstar Saga and Partners in Time.
Mm.
I think basically every single game except for Bowser's Inside Story has some like major skips and interesting glitches.
Hmm.
Like Superstar Saga has an interesting glitch halfway through where you do most of it like the first half of the game glitches up until like you get the hammers, and then you do a barrel to get like action commands that you're not supposed to have to get super hammers early, and then you do like these out of bounds stuff to get the mush badge, which increases your attack power for every mushroom you have in your inventory, and then you glitch your way to activate flags to access the final dungeon and get to the final boss fight. And it's a really tense boss fight against Cacoletta where you need to not make any mistakes because you are like severely under leveled, but
Hmm.
you have enough attack power with the mushrooms you collected and the mush badge, which drastically buffs your attack power to win the fight.
Hmm.
It's a
Interesting.
really broken and cool run, but it's also like super difficult. And then Partners in Time has an interesting case because there's a lot of glitches that got discovered in 2017, most notably like an hour long skip that skips straight to the final dungeon of the game called Gate Skip.
Mm.
It's sort of like a barrier skip of that game where it took 13 years to find, and it's the easiest trick it found out.
Hmm.
Like Solidified Gaming found it, and she found out that you just walk up to this corner, tap briefly left, and go in the ball form and just rolling up. Easy as that.
Hmm.
Took 13 years to find, and it was that easy.
I mean, I can relate that to the flag despawn in 2J. It took like 30 plus years to find,
Yeah,
and it's
I think
free.
I think that a lot of runs that I think interest me that I want to learn are sometimes maybe I mean there's all types of runs I want to learn. Like I think right now Ocarina of Time
Hmm.
interests me the most. Here's came this new game that just came out. Everyone seems to love it.
Never heard of it.
Haven't patched it yet, which is
Mm.
good, but I'm still doing my casual playthrough and I'm not going to look at a speed run of it until I like fully enjoy the game.
Yeah,
Because I know
that's
other
pretty
people have
based.
because a lot of them took a week off to play the game,
Hmm.
but I didn't. I took a week off to go to SGDQ. So
See,
I'm
that
a
was
bit
the
behind
correct
a lot of
decision.
people. Yeah, I feel like I'm a bit behind others, but that's okay. I'm not
Hmm.
really too worried about getting like a becoming a good runner within month one because I know that given enough time, if I grind this game enough, I know that I could probably have a solid chance of like getting a world record
Mm.
or whatnot. But I just have to play through the game and see if I like the speed run of it, if it's like in my eyes like worth getting a record for. Which I
Yeah.
think it will. There probably will be some cool stuff they discovered. It also helps that even though it's using the Breath of the Wild engine, this is a fresh new game with
Hmm.
not even the same glitches as Breath of the Wild. So that also gives me like a bit of hope too.
Yeah.
That's why I think new releases can be quite exciting because it's like a fresh start where no one really knows anything about the game.
Yeah, it's crazy how quickly people find out. Like it just takes a week and all of a sudden like
Yeah.
speedruns are pretty decent.
Yeah, that being said, Breath of the Wild took a while. They found like
Mm.
some cool stasis tricks with like the riding a boulder within the first few weeks, but they didn't discover any of the major glitches using that route until 2019.
Mm. Yeah, that's a while.
But then Tears of the Kingdom, they find it like week 1.
Yeah. I mean, Odyssey is a good example of something that wasn't that broken. I mean, it's
But then
still
it slowly became more broken over time.
yeah, but most of the time save over the years have
Yeah.
been just pure optimization.
Yeah, and it was, but a lot of big tricks took a while to discover. Like it
Hmm.
was just uh before Nicro's run at SGDQ 2018 that moon clipping was discovered,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of other strats being like discovered to make sub-hour possible slowly over the course of a year and a half.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then, but at the same time, it had more runners than Breath of the Wild did upon release. There's just much more hype about an open world sandbox 3D Mario game that interested speedrunning more than Breath of the Wild, which is like a big open world where it seemed like the method of movement was just kind of dull. But then once more glitches got started of it, Breath of the Wild speedrunning really took off.
Oh yeah,
It
it
just
blew
took,
up.
it took a while to get there, but it eventually did.
Yeah. It's cool seeing
Yeah.
like how quickly or how long it'll take something. You never really
Yeah.
know.
Shoot, even if a game as established as OT,
Hmm.
I don't think it matters like how long you've been running it, as long as you've like learned to catch up like decently quickly
Hmm.
and like learn the tricks. Because I think with a lot of Zelda games or just any speed run in general, you just learn the general movement and learn like certain tricks, and you just get better with time, like with repetition and whatnot. Slowly learn more small optimizations, and you can get really good really quickly if you know how to like grind very smart.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting to think about what you have to do to like get good.
Yeah, and I've
There's a
always
lot of
that
work
that
involved.
very prideful person inside of me really wants to be good at something, so I feel like truly validated,
Hmm.
because I feel like I don't I weirdly enough don't feel fulfilled just being a speedrun content creator, because even though it is much more monetarily and like fall and like subscription like better, like it goes higher on average than just doing runs, I feel this weird sense of unfulfillment because at the end of the day, people don't speed run games to get like really good just because they think it'll make them rich and famous.
No.
They do it out of pride.
Hmm. That's true because like, I have what 170 world records over the years or something like some a substantial
Yeah,
number. I still feel like I'm not fulfilled. I still like see a arbitrary barrier or something. I'm like, oh, I gotta break that first, and if I do,
yeah.
I'm the
Always
only
this
person
weird
that's
sense
gonna
of
care. Like,
it's always this weird sense of pride that we weird and quirky humans have that just cause us to chase these really arbitrary and weird achievements.
yeah, I almost feel like I need to start taking that energy into like something like content creation that could like
Yeah,
do
because
better
then
for me because it's like
yeah, because at the same time, it's not to say that doing runs is like a waste of time at all.
no, it got me
That
to
being said,
GDQ,
like
so
making content is really constructive, but I don't like saying that speedrunning isn't constructive, because without speed runs,
there wouldn't
there's
be
no
content.
speedrunning.
Yeah.
And not to mention, it's not like everyone needs to become, a content creator in space, because some people just do it as like a relaxing hobby.
Hmm.
But someone like you, it seems like you have like a little bit of ambition too.
Yeah, there's like a passion for the community that I have that I like to put all my effort into it, but I focus my effort on like streaming and speedrunning as a practice. But that
Yeah,
doesn't do much for me, and it never has.
yeah. And if you're already a little bit at the top of the game, you could still like stream often, but you could also have that take like a little bit of a backseat and like and give back to the community with the content,
Hmm.
because that's a good way of looking
That's
at
where
it.
my brain is thinking right now. Just because, I've been here for almost 6 years and I have world records to show for it. I'm in videos, that's cool and all, but like I've been unemployed for a while. I don't know what to do. Um, I don't exactly make money streaming or anything, so it'd be nice to like,
Yeah, at this point, I feel like it would be wise to shift your priorities and really give like the content thing a shot. Because even if it
Okay.
takes like a few months or maybe even a year to really get the ball rolling, I know that it won't take that long to get the ball rolling, especially if you have like this much insane knowledge of SMB1 and have a lot of content ideas. Because even if you think that the game has like somewhat of a saturation in terms of YouTube content,
Mm-hmm.
I think it just like thinking outside the box. Like look at how Cosmic's like somehow making interesting videos of SMB1
Mm-hmm.
about the game or like its history. Or like the idea I had, like category extensions. That's literally how lowest percent gets all those millions of views.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, I mean, I've definitely been thinking about it. I mean, I happen to have a lot of people on my show here that do the YouTube thing a lot, and I like discussing about it because I do find it interesting.
Oh, absolutely.
So it's just nice to learn as much as you can about it, and it's nice to also get that information out there to other people. Like
Oh yeah.
this will be uploaded. I mean, it's important information for everyone if anyone's at all interested. So,
Oh yeah. I wonder what chat has to say with it. I don't have the chat pulled up at all, just so to make sure that my computer doesn't lag.
I don't usually stream at this time, so there
Oh,
hasn't been
okay.
much chat anyway, so I wouldn't worry about
Oh,
it.
okay. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. There haven't been any questions or anything, but I mean, questions are fine. I mean, there was the
All
one
right.
GDQ question, and we did talk about that a bit, like GDQ
Mhm.
runs that are good to watch. So,
Oh yeah. I mean, I'd probably just give like a brief example because there's so many different types of games, so many like really great runs over the years. I was just listing the ones that just popped in my head
hmm
because I know I can list off like a bunch more. I'm really glad I remember the like the KZ through Vice City runs 'cause those are like among the best runs ever.
oh yeah, they're fun. They're definitely fun. I'm actually like ironically not too into the Grand Theft Auto speedrunning scene, which, given my username, is just kind of ironic.
Yeah,
But
it just seems like you're a pretty big fan of the games casually, it seems like.
yes, that's me. I wouldn't worry about like why people aren't here. I don't care. I mean, people
Oh
seem
no,
to like the YouTube.
I'm not worried about that at
No,
all.
no, I'm reading a chat message.
Yeah.
Someone said that they've been liking the content, but and don't know why more people aren't here. And I'm just
Yeah,
saying
like
like
shoot.
it's not a big deal. Like,
Yeah, you could make good content out of streaming to hardly anyone because
mhm.
it doesn't affect like how many views it can get on YouTube.
Yeah, like that's what we've talked about. Like, I'm not getting a lot of viewers right now because I'm streaming at a time I don't usually stream, and this isn't technically like content people really like to see live. It depends on the person sometimes, or sometimes there's like so many factors. But when I upload it to YouTube, some videos, get like 50 views, which is a lot for like a 3 hour long VOD.
Hmm.
But and then like I did my Summoning Salt one that got 2,000 in like a couple weeks. One of my best performing videos ever, and that was just a 4 hour VOD unedited. That's that. So like the Twitch doesn't really matter. I just care if people like watch it at all, and I care that those people clicked on it because they wanted to watch it. Like, oh, they're interviewing this person. That's fun. Let's watch that because I like interviews. I find them interesting. I watch them, so I wanted to create the content that I personally like too.
Oh yeah, that's why I was like really glad that you had like the summoning had summoning salt on there because
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to that interview over the course of like a couple of days because it was really interesting to hear his perspective of how he decided to choose certain videos and whatnot
Mm-hmm.
and what he decides to put in them, the new stuff that he adds, you know, the drill. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean that's the stuff that I find interesting, definitely. So,
Yeah.
and I there are a lot of people that do some interviews, but I feel like there's a lack of like certain things. Like if someone does it, they might not upload that frequently. So it's like no one's doing this every week show. They just have a different guest every time and they just talk about speedrunning. And that's what I wanted
Yeah.
to do. I'm like that
That's
I
what fun.
want that
Yeah.
content to exist, so I made it happen.
Yeah. It's
And
cool
that's
that
what
it
you have to
exists
do.
though. It might be hard to get like this kind of podcast like go into like a much broader audience, but in
Yeah.
the speedrunning scene I feel like it'll eventually
hmm
be noticed at least within that circle, not so
Yeah.
much
And
about
I don't
the
really care.
big
I don't
circle,
want
but
it to like
like if you're just doing this for like the little circle like
hmm
this podcast, that's perfectly fine because
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
the speedrun community needs that kind of content.
That's the target I want. I want the people that I know would be interested in it to watch it. I don't
Yeah.
care about it going outside of that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I will say part of the reason I like doing this is it's really like it's horribly hard to get 4,000 public watch hours in a year. At least for like the kind of content I create.
Yup. Yep. I think with that kind of content, definitely. So you just gotta stretch that watch time. But let's see.
But this uploading these, like if one person watches an episode all the way through, that's like 3 hours right there. I got
Yeah.
2,000 views on the summoning salt thing. That gave me like 400 watch hours already. That's so much of the
Yeah, a
thing.
video with like 1,000 views gives you like a pretty sizable like watch hours. Like
Hmm.
even my recent video, which I don't think is performing that well with only like 25K views, that's like 3,000 watch hours easily, just off of one video I uploaded a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
Then again,
So,
I think that's just scaling over time of what is considered good or bad, like by your standards and
mhm.
whatnot.
I mean, yeah, there's two different ways you could approach it. You could approach like making shorter form content that gets a lot of views, or making long form content that like gets a lot of views only in the community you're targeting because it's very specific to the audience you want, and both can like average to around the same amount.
Yeah, I feel like shorter videos can be like really successful for your channel too.
Hmm.
Because look at Little Curbs. Little Curbs
Oh my god, yeah,
is like so good at what he does, and he keeps like him really brief. I've never seen like anyone do like that short of content on YouTube and succeed nearly as well as Little Curbs does.
yeah.
He
He
knows
made
his
like
audience well. He has a purpose. He wants videos that don't waste your time and goes over like what it takes to beat a really hard level in Mario Maker, as
yeah,
well
yeah,
as like a funny joke in the end, funny jokes throughout the video. He knows what he wants to do, and he made like a really good formula for that kind of thing.
yeah. One of his most recent videos just made me. I think I watched it last night. It made me just laugh so hard.
Dude,
Um,
Curbs is so funny.
I'm so glad I met him, and it's funny because he's almost like a completely different person in person.
Oh,
Like
I
he's
know
just
that for a
like a
fact because
normal human.
I've talked to him in person. It's really interesting, like hearing his like goals in life outside of it.
Oh,
I
I haven't
won't
heard
really,
anything about that.
yeah, I won't really speak about it here because it is kind of a
More
private
personal thing,
conversation I
yeah.
had with
Got it.
him, and I would rather, and
Yeah,
he's like a
don't then. Yeah.
he's a very private person. I'd
Mm-hmm.
rather like if in case he could feel free to divulge that information if he like accepts an interview from you, but
Mm-hmm.
don't take anything from me.
No, yeah, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I just want to say, like, yeah, his videos are super different to the kind of things that like do well, but he does it so well
Yeah.
that it is still popular, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
But also
It's
the
so
element of
funny.
funny.
It's
The
so
element of
funny.
funny is something like so underrated. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how much of my uh videos you've watched, but I feel like even if my sense of humor ain't really that great,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I have more comedic stuff in my videos more often than your typical like speedrun creator, it feels like. I mean, not to say that a lot of other people aren't funny. I just feel like a lot of people have that typical video essay vibe where they
Yeah.
say like this happens, and it does a job. But I feel like speedrunning YouTube could like elevate a lot more if you have like a lot of your personal flavor. Like give a taste of like who you are
Mm-hmm.
as a person in your like writing and script and your like your delivery and whatnot. Because I feel like some people are like really good and you can get away with just being like very basic and formal about it.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like if you have your own like personal flavor you want to add to it,
Yeah.
it's a strength that sets you apart from the crowd. And that's something I'm working on right now. Like I'm literally revising parts of that script that I started a year ago for that bottle video that I just sat on because I didn't know what to do with it,
Mm-hmm.
just to make it like stand out from the crowd
Yeah.
in terms of presentation.
Yeah. That. Yeah. It's very important to like be yourself in things.
Yeah, it's taken me a long time for me to like be myself because I spent so much time on YouTube before I made speedrunning videos trying to be someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And weirdly enough, hopping on the speedrunning like trend about something I really cared about is just me being myself, period.
Yeah. The hard thing for like me per se is like I've always been myself, but myself was like very like full of anxiety person for the longest time where I couldn't do much of anything. Like I streamed for the longest time without a camera or even a mic. Like so it's also hard in that sense. You kind of have to get over it and change who you are too sometimes.
Yeah. All it just takes is like a little bit nudge, maybe some baby steps, and you get there. Sometimes it takes a while for people to really develop personality and their confidence online.
Yeah, it took
Like,
me
let's take a
23
like if you
years.
look at a YouTuber's like first few videos compared to their most recent, difference is
Night
night and
and
day.
day, yeah,
Like look at a
exactly.
Little Curbs' first Mario Maker videos that he did and the style that he does today, and how kind of like monotone it sounds compared to like the liveliness in his voice nowadays, and especially like Summoning Salt, because even like mic quality aside, Summoning Salt's presentation was kind of dry mostly, except for like the Cash Dash video, which
Oh,
was just
I loved Cash
bizarre.
Dash. I'm
Cash
glad so
Dash.
many people know about Cash Dash.
Oh, I know about Cash Dash. I know about the original Donkey Kong video. I
Hmm.
know about the old um uh
Mega Man 2.
Mega Man 2 video.
I'm sure there were others.
Yep. It's just kind of weird. I just have like this weird knowledge of like what like unlisted or private things from the past of like a YouTuber when they were still in like their awkward phase.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
I know you have your
And
own too. Little
oh
Scott the
yeah,
Woz ripoff.
I mean I showed it to you and Pat at GDQ, even
Yeah.
though it brought me much great shame.
I mean, what is there to be shamed about, you know?
Not to say, I think no, I think I feel proud showing it because it shows like how far I've grown
Yeah,
since.
that's the mindset you need to have.
Like shoot, I had like the Mario Sunshine Let's Play from when I was 13, the 3DS capture card test where I wisely
Flipped up the
decided
camera.
to show like the camera and you saw like young me. That was like 9 years ago. Oh my
Ugh.
god.
Thank God I wasn't on the internet in much until like 2017.
Yeah.
Child me would have been so cringe. I mean, even like when I first started getting into the internet and
I
like
mean,
the speedrun community, I was pretty cringe. So,
19-year-old me was cringe. He copied
hmm
Scott the Woz because he was jealous.
there you go. Hey, I was cringe back then too, so I get it. I
Yeah.
used to get like super mad. Like I used to get super mad, but not anymore. I've gotten over it.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, it's
I mean,
kind of
sometimes it takes a long time to mature, especially like on the internet where you can kind of be whoever. So it's
yeah.
you got to like just find yourself again almost.
Yeah. That's why I don't mind like having gotten really in the groove of content in my 20s.
Hmm.
Like my like history of BLJ and like the video took off when I was 20. And even though I still had a lot to grow and I feel like I've grown a lot in the past 2.5 years, even if
Hmm.
most of the time has not been spent making YouTube videos, I think that's helped me a lot and gave me like a lot of determination to succeed because I feel like I've changed a lot in the past 2 years
Yeah. I mean,
where I feel like so determined and ready.
yeah. It takes a while. Growth is important, but it's nice to look back and see it happen. Because then you feel
Absolutely.
like you've done something. Even like in the moment, maybe you didn't, but you just have to remember, like, oh yeah, number went up, thing happened, I did. I don't know.
Mhm. Yep. Uh, if you don't mind, is there any like final questions you want to ask me? Because I feel like I should probably head to bed somewhat soon.
Yeah, we have been
But
going a while.
if there's any like final questions that you have for me, now would be like a good time to ask them.
I think I've talked about really everything I could think
Yeah.
of. Went over
Even though
like,
I feel like I kind of hijacked a lot of the conversation just because I
I
have like
mean,
so
that's
much
good because
background
I'm
info.
still like not good about figuring things out. So,
Mhm.
I mean, this has always been like the guest carries me into it. I have like some baseline questions and then tangents kind of spawn naturally. And I mean
Mhm.
that's what happens every time it works. I feel like that's the more important conversations. I feel if it's all scripted, it's not as engaging. I like when just whatever happens in the moment. And it's like a more natural
Mhm.
conversation. That's what I find interesting, at least more personally. So it's hard for
Yeah,
me to come up with
I came into
questions.
this with like no preparation. You
Hmm.
sent me like a DM yesterday. I was like, you know what? Sure, I'll do it.
And here we
And I
are.
feel like I did pretty well.
No, yeah, this was great. Yeah, let's see. I talked about like how you started your content, GDQ stuff, runs you like to watch, things you're interested in later. I think we like covered every base, so I think we can just end it here,
Yeah,
unless you can think of anything yourself.
I'd be fine with that. I just checked my email briefly, and I have to probably leave the house at around like 6, like 10 or like 6 a.m. my time, which would be like 5 a.m. your time, and
Oh
I'm probably
boy,
only gonna be I'm probably only gonna get 5 hours of sleep now, but that's okay. I just roll with the punches.
Yeah, not tomorrow, but the next day I need to be on a plane and wake up at like 4 a.m. So I get
Okay,
it. I'll be
okay.
enjoying it myself. So
Yep, yep. That's my
let's get
normal
you to
wake up
bed.
time.
Let's end it here. All right.
All
So
right, all right.
I'll do the
Thanks
extra.
for having me on, Ace.
Yeah.
We gotta like talk some more after this. You're a real cool guy.
Well, thank you. I mean, this was definitely an engaging conversation. I liked the panel. Um, I'll do my outro here. So thanks for watching, everyone. This will be uploaded on YouTube this Sunday. This is being recorded. Today's Wednesday, right? Wednesday night. So
Yeah, today's Wednesday.
a little bit early, but I'll be gone. This will be the third time been gone that Sunday, 3 weeks in a row. So next Sunday, I'll probably be here. So here's my stuff. Here's your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I love
I
the
think
shout out feature. The shout out feature is goated. We love it.
oh, yeah, shout outs to shout outs.
Shout outs to shout outs also very important. Let's go bingo.
Let's go bingo.
Hell yeah. All right, and yeah, if you're watching on YouTube, you can watch these live on Twitch. They're supposed to be Sundays, but we'll get there
Yep.
eventually.
And if you want to see more of me, I'm going to be uploading a lot more often soon, hopefully. So you know where to find me.
Yep, the links are on the stream right below them. So over there, yeah. Look at his pointer finger, not mine. Okay,
Yep.
there they are. All right. Thanks everyone for watching. Have a good night.
All right.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.